The Torah SKJV, Simplified King James Version. By Rodney Horrell. Copyright 2017. Exodus. Now these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah; Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin; Dan, and Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already. And Joseph died, and all his brothers, and all that generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful, and increased abundantly, and multiplied, and became exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, Look, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, or else they multiply, and it come to pass, that, when there comes a war, they join also to our enemies, and fight against us, and so get out of the land. Therefore they set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with cruelty. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar, and in brick, and in all kinds of service in the field. All their service, where they made them serve, was with cruelty. And the king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, When all of you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it is a son, then all of you shall kill him, but if it is a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared God, and did not do as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the male children. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives, and said to them, Why have all of you done this thing, and have saved the male children alive? And the midwives said to Pharaoh, Because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively, and are delivered before the midwives come into them. Therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied, and became very mighty. And it came to pass, because the midwives feared God, that he made them houses. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, Every son that is born you shall all cast into the river, and every daughter you shall all save alive. And there went a man from the house of Levi, and took a daughter of Levi as his wife. And the woman conceived, and bore a son, and when she saw him that he was a pleasant child, she hid him for 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and covered it with pitch and with tar, and put the child in it, and she laid it in the reeds by the river's edge. And his sister stood afar off, to know what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the river's side, and when she saw the ark among the reeds, she sent her maid to get it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and look, the baby wept. And she had compassion on him, and said, This is one of the Hebrews' children. Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, Shall I go and call to you a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for you? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Take this child away, and nurse it for me, and I will give you your wages. And the woman took the child, and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses, and she said, Because I drew him out of the water. And it came to pass in those days, when Moses was grown, that he went out to his brothers, and looked on their burdens, and he spied an Egyptian striking a Hebrew, one of his brothers. And he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he killed the Egyptian, and hid him in the sand. And when he went out the second day, look, 2 men of the Hebrews struggled together, and he said to him that did the wrong, How is it that you strike your friend? And he said, Who made you a prince and a judge over us? Do you intend to kill me, as you killed the Egyptian? And Moses feared, and said, Surely this thing is known. Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to kill Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh, and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water, and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. And the shepherds came and drove them away, but Moses stood up and helped them, and watered their flock. And when they came to Reuel their father, he said, How is it that all of you have come so soon today? And they said, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us, and watered the flock. And he said to his daughters, And where is he? Why is it that you all have left the man? Call him, that he may eat bread. And Moses was content to dwell with the man, and he gave Moses Zipporah his daughter. And she bore him a son, and he called his name Gershom, for he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land. And it came to pass in the process of time, that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel groaned from the bondage, and they cried out, and their cry came up to God from the bondage. And God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. And God looked upon the children of Israel, and God knew them. Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert, and came to the mountain of God, even to Horeb. And the angel of Jehovah appeared to him in a flame of fire out of the middle of a bush, and he looked, and look, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. And Moses said, I will now turn aside, and see this great sight, why the bush is not burnt. And when Jehovah saw that he turned aside to see, God called to him out of the middle of the bush, and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here I am. And he said, Do not come near here, take off your shoes from off your feet, for the place where you stand on is holy ground. Again he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon God. And Jehovah said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. And I have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of that land to a good and a large land, to a land flowing with milk and honey, to the place of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Now therefore, look, the cry of the children of Israel has come to me, and I have also seen the oppression where the Egyptians oppress them. Therefore come now, and I will send you to Pharaoh, that you may bring out my people the children of Israel out of Egypt. And Moses said to God, Who am I, that I should go to Pharaoh, and that I should bring out the children of Israel out of Egypt? And he said, Certainly I will be with you, and this shall be a sign to you, that I have sent you. When you have brought out the people out of Egypt, you all shall serve God upon this mountain. And Moses said to God, Look, when I go to the children of Israel, and shall say to them, The God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they shall say to me, What is his name? What shall I say to them? And God said to Moses, I am that I am, and he said, So shall you say to the children of Israel, I am has sent me to you. And God said again to Moses, So shall you say to the children of Israel, Jehovah God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial to all generations. Go, and gather the elders of Israel together, and say to them, Jehovah God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Jacob, appeared to me, saying, I have surely visited you, and seen that which is done to you in Egypt. And I have said, I will bring you up out of the affliction of Egypt to the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, to a land flowing with milk and honey. And they shall listen to your voice, and you shall come, you and the elders of Israel, to the king of Egypt, and you all shall say to him, Jehovah God of the Hebrews has met with us, and now let us go, now, 3 days' journey into the wilderness, that we may sacrifice to Jehovah our God. And I am sure that the king of Egypt will not let you go, no, not by a mighty hand. And I will stretch out my hand, and strike Egypt with all my wonders which I will do in the middle of it, and after that he will let you go. And I will give this people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, and it shall come to pass, that, when all of you go, all of you shall not go empty. But every woman shall ask of her neighbor, and of her that resides in her house, jewels of silver, and jewels of gold, and clothing, and you all shall put them upon your sons, and upon your daughters, and all of you shall plunder the Egyptians. And Moses answered and said, But, look, they will not believe me, or listen to my voice, for they will say, Jehovah has not appeared to you. And Jehovah said to him, What is that in your hand? And he said, A rod. And he said, Cast it on the ground. And he cast it on the ground, and it became a serpent, and Moses fled from before it. And Jehovah said to Moses, Put out your hand, and take it by the tail. And he put out his hand, and caught it, and it became a rod in his hand. That they may believe that Jehovah God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has appeared to you. And Jehovah said again to him, Put now your hand into your bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom, and when he took it out, look, his hand was leprous as snow. And he said, Put your hand into your bosom again. And he put his hand into his bosom again, and pulled it out of his bosom, and look, it was turned again as his other flesh. And it shall come to pass, if they will not believe you, neither listen to the voice of the first sign, that they will believe the voice of the latter sign. And it shall come to pass, if they will not believe also these two signs, neither listen to your voice, that you shall take of the water of the river, and pour it upon the dry land, and the water which you take out of the river shall become blood upon the dry land. And Moses said to Jehovah, O my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither at any time have been, or since you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech, and of a slow tongue. And Jehovah said to him, Who has made man's mouth? Or who makes the dumb, or deaf, or the seeing, or the blind? Have not I Jehovah? Now therefore go, and I will be with your mouth, and teach you what you shall say. And he said, O my Lord, send, now, by the hand of him whom you will send. And the anger of Jehovah was kindled against Moses, and he said, Is not Aaron the Levite your brother? I know that he can speak well. And also, look, he is coming out to meet you, and when he sees you, he will be glad in his heart. And you shall speak to him, and put words in his mouth, and I will be with your mouth, and with his mouth, and will teach you what you both shall do. And he shall be your spokesman to the people, and he shall be, even he shall be to you instead of a mouth, and you shall be to him instead of God. And you shall take this rod in your hand, with which you shall do signs. And Moses went and returned to Jethro his father-in-law, and said to him, Let me go, now, and return to my brothers which are in Egypt, and see whether they are still alive. And Jethro said to Moses, Go in peace. And Jehovah said to Moses in Midian, Go, return into Egypt, for all the men are dead which sought your life. And Moses took his wife and his sons, and set them upon a male donkey, and he returned to the land of Egypt, and Moses took the rod of God in his hand. And Jehovah said to Moses, When you go to return into Egypt, see that you do all those wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in your hand, but I will harden his heart, that he shall not let the people go. And you shall say to Pharaoh, So says Jehovah, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. And I say to you, Let my son go, that he may serve me, and if you refuse to let him go, look, I will kill your son, even your firstborn. And it came to pass by the way in the inn, that Jehovah met him, and sought to kill him. Then Zipporah took a sharp stone, and cut off the foreskin of her son, and cast it at his feet, and said, Surely you are a bloody husband to me. So he let him go. Then she said, You are a bloody husband, because of the circumcision. And Jehovah said to Aaron, Go into the wilderness to meet Moses. And he went, and met him in the mountain of God, and kissed him. And Moses told Aaron all the words of Jehovah who had sent him, and all the signs which he had commanded him. And Moses and Aaron went and gathered together all the elders of the children of Israel. And Aaron spoke all the words which Jehovah had spoken to Moses, and did the signs in the sight of the people. And the people believed, and when they heard that Jehovah had visited the children of Israel, and that he had looked upon their affliction, then they bowed their heads and worshipped. And afterwards Moses and Aaron went in, and told Pharaoh, So says Jehovah God of Israel, Let my people go, that they may hold a feast to me in the wilderness. And Pharaoh said, Who is Jehovah, that I should obey his voice to let Israel go? I do not know Jehovah, neither will I let Israel go. And they said, The God of the Hebrews has met with us, let us go, now, 3 days' journey into the desert, and sacrifice to Jehovah our God, unless he fall upon us with pestilence, or with the sword. And the king of Egypt said to them, Why do you both, Moses and Aaron, loosen the people from their works? Get yourselves to your burdens. And Pharaoh said, Look, the people of the land now are many, and you both make them rest from their burdens. And Pharaoh commanded the same day to the taskmasters of the people, and their officers, saying, You all shall no more give the people straw to make brick, as before, let them go and gather straw for themselves. And the number of the bricks, which they did make before, you all shall lay upon them, you all shall not diminish from it, for they are idle, therefore they cry, saying, Let us go and sacrifice to our God. Let there be more work laid upon the men, that they may labor in it, and let them not regard vain words. And the taskmasters of the people went out, and their officers, and they spoke to the people, saying, So says Pharaoh, I will not give you straw. Go all of you, get yourselves straw where you all can find it, yet none of your work shall be diminished. So the people were scattered throughout all the land of Egypt to gather stubble instead of straw. And the taskmasters hurried them, saying, Fulfill your works, your daily tasks, as when there was straw. And the officers of the children of Israel, which Pharaoh's taskmasters had set over them, were beaten, and demanded, Why have you all not fulfilled your task in making brick both yesterday and today, as before? Then the officers of the children of Israel came and cried to Pharaoh, saying, Why do you deal like this with your servants? There is no straw given to your servants, and they say to us, Make brick, and look, your servants are beaten, but the fault is in your own people. But he said, You all are idle, therefore you all say, Let us go and do sacrifice to Jehovah. Therefore go now, and work, for no straw shall be given to you, yet you shall all deliver the number of bricks. And the officers of the children of Israel did see that they were in an evil situation, after it was said, You all shall not diminish any from your bricks of your daily task. And they met Moses and Aaron, who stood in the way, as they came out from Pharaoh. And they said to them, Jehovah look upon you, and judge, because you both have made our smell to be abhorred in the eyes of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of his servants, to put a sword in their hand to kill us. And Moses returned to Jehovah, and said, Lord, why have you treated this people with evil? Why is it that you have sent me? For since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has done evil to this people, neither have you delivered your people at all. Then Jehovah said to Moses, Now shall you see what I will do to Pharaoh, for with a strong hand shall he let them go, and with a strong hand shall he drive them out of his land. And God spoke to Moses, and said to him, I am Jehovah. And I appeared to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, by the name of God Almighty, but by my name Jehovah I was not known to them. And I have also established my covenant with them, to give them the land of Canaan, the land of their pilgrimage, where they were strangers. And I have also heard the groaning of the children of Israel, whom the Egyptians keep in bondage, and I have remembered my covenant. Therefore say to the children of Israel, I am Jehovah, and I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I will rid you out of their bondage, and I will redeem you with a stretched out arm, and with great judgments. And I will take you to myself for a people, and I will be to you a God, and you all shall know that I am Jehovah your God, who brings you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. And I will bring you into the land, concerning that which I did swear to give it to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, and I will give it to you for an heritage, I am Jehovah. And therefore Moses spoke to the children of Israel, but they did not listen to Moses for anguish of spirit, and for cruel bondage. And Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, Go in, speak to Pharaoh king of Egypt, that he shall let the children of Israel go out of his land. And Moses spoke before Jehovah, saying, Look, the children of Israel have not listened to me, how then shall Pharaoh hear me, who am of uncircumcised lips? And Jehovah spoke to Moses and to Aaron, and gave them a command to the children of Israel, and to Pharaoh king of Egypt, to bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. These are the heads of their fathers' houses, the sons of Reuben the firstborn of Israel, Hanok, and Palu, Hezron, and Carmi, these are the families of Reuben. And the sons of Simeon, Jemuel, and Jamin, and Ahad, and Jachin, and Zohar, and Shaul the son of a Canaanite woman, these are the families of Simeon. And these are the names of the sons of Levi according to their generations, Gershon, and Kohath, and Merari, and the years of the life of Levi were 137 years. The sons of Gershon, Libni, and Shimei, according to their families. And the sons of Kohath, Amram, and Izhar, and Hebron, and Uzziel, and the years of the life of Kohath were 133 years. And the sons of Merari, Mahali and Mushi, these are the families of Levi according to their generations. And Amram took to himself Jochebed his father's sister to wife, and she bore him Aaron and Moses, and the years of the life of Amram were 137 years. And the sons of Izhar, Korah, and Nepheg, and Zichri. And the sons of Uzziel, Misal, and Elzaphan, and Zithri. And Aaron took him Elisheva, daughter of Amminadab, sister of Nashon, to wife, and she bore him Nadab, and Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. And the sons of Korah, Asur, and Elkanah, and Abiasaph, these are the families of the Korites. And Eleazar Aaron's son took to himself one of the daughters of Putiel to wife, and she bore him Phinehas, These are the heads of the fathers of the Levites according to their families. These are that Aaron and Moses, to whom Jehovah said, Bring out the children of Israel from the land of Egypt according to their armies. These are they which spoke to Pharaoh king of Egypt, to bring out the children of Israel from Egypt. These are that Moses and Aaron. And it came to pass on the day when Jehovah spoke to Moses in the land of Egypt, that Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, I am Jehovah, you speak to Pharaoh king of Egypt all that I say to you. And Moses said before Jehovah, Look, I am of uncircumcised lips, and how shall Pharaoh listen to me? And Jehovah said to Moses, See, I have made you a god to Pharaoh, and Aaron your brother shall be your prophet. You shall speak all that I command you, and Aaron your brother shall speak to Pharaoh, that he may send the children of Israel out of his land. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt. But Pharaoh shall not listen to you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt, and bring out my armies, and my people the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgments. And the Egyptians shall know that I am Jehovah, when I stretch out my hand upon Egypt, and bring out the children of Israel from among them. And Moses and Aaron did as Jehovah commanded them, so they did. And Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron 83 years old, when they spoke to Pharaoh. And Jehovah spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying, When Pharaoh shall speak to you, saying, Show a miracle, for you shall then say to Aaron, Take your rod, and cast it before Pharaoh, and it shall become a serpent. And Moses and Aaron went into Pharaoh, and they did as Jehovah had commanded so, and Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh, and before his servants, and it became a serpent. Then Pharaoh also called the wise men and the sorcerers, the magicians of Egypt, they also did so with their enchantments. For every man cast down his rod, and they became serpents, but Aaron's rod swallowed up their rods. And he hardened Pharaoh's heart, that he did not listen to them, as Jehovah had said. And Jehovah said to Moses, Pharaoh's heart is hardened, he refuses to let the people go. You go to Pharaoh in the morning, look, he goes out to the water, and you shall stand by the river's bank until he comes, and you shall take in your hand the rod which was turned to a serpent. And you shall say to him, Jehovah God of the Hebrews has sent me to you, saying, Let my people go, that they may serve me in the wilderness, and look, until now you would not hear. So says Jehovah, in this you shall know that I am Jehovah. Look, I will strike with the rod that is in my hand upon the waters which are in the river, and they shall be turned to blood. And the fish that is in the river shall die, and the river shall stink, and the Egyptians shall loathe to drink of the water of the river. And Jehovah spoke to Moses, Say to Aaron, Take your rod, and stretch out your hand upon the waters of Egypt, upon their streams, upon their rivers, and upon their ponds, and upon all their pools of water, that they may become blood, and that there may be blood throughout all the land of Egypt, both in vessels of wood, and in vessels of stone. And Moses and Aaron did so, as Jehovah commanded, and he lifted up the rod, and struck the waters that were in the river, in the sight of Pharaoh, and in the sight of his servants, and all the waters that were in the river were turned to blood. And the fish that were in the river died, and the river stank, and the Egyptians could not drink of the water of the river, and there was blood throughout all the land of Egypt. And the magicians of Egypt did so with their enchantments, and Pharaoh's heart was hardened, neither did he listen to them, as Jehovah had said. And Pharaoh turned and went into his house, neither did he also set his heart to this. And all the Egyptians dug around the river for water to drink, for they could not drink of the water of the river. And 7 days were fulfilled, after that Jehovah had struck the river. And Jehovah spoke to Moses, Go to Pharaoh, and say to him, So says Jehovah, Let my people go, that they may serve me. And if you refuse to let them go, look, I will strike all your borders with frogs. And the river shall bring out frogs abundantly, which shall go up and come into your house, and into your bedroom, and upon your bed, and into the house of your servants, and upon your people, and into your ovens, and into your kneading troughs. And the frogs shall come up both on you, and upon your people, and upon all your servants. And Jehovah spoke to Moses, Say to Aaron, Stretch out your hand with your rod over the streams, over the rivers, and over the ponds, and cause frogs to come up upon the land of Egypt. And Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up, and covered the land of Egypt. And the magicians did so with their enchantments, and brought up frogs upon the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron, and said, Pray to Jehovah, that he may take away the frogs from me, and from my people, and I will let the people go, that they may make sacrifice to Jehovah. And Moses said to Pharaoh, Glory over me, when shall I pray for you, and for your servants, and for your people, to destroy the frogs from you and your houses, that they may remain in the river only? And he said, Tomorrow. And he said, Be it according to your word, that you may know that there is none like Jehovah our God. And the frogs shall depart from you, and from your houses, and from your servants, and from your people, they shall remain in the river only. And Moses and Aaron went out from Pharaoh, and Moses cried to Jehovah because of the frogs which he had brought against Pharaoh. And Jehovah did according to the word of Moses, and the frogs died out of the houses, out of the villages, and out of the fields. And they gathered them together in heaps, and the land stank. But when Pharaoh saw that there was respite, he hardened his heart, and did not listen to them, as Jehovah had said. And Jehovah said to Moses, Say to Aaron, Stretch out your rod, and strike the dust of the land, that it may become lice throughout all the land of Egypt. And they did so, for Aaron stretched out his hand with his rod, and struck the dust of the earth, and it became lice in man, and in beast, all the dust of the land became lice throughout all the land of Egypt. And the magicians did so with their enchantments to bring out lice, but they could not, so there were lice upon man, and upon beast. Then the magicians said to Pharaoh, This is the finger of God, and Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he did not listen to them, as Jehovah had said. And Jehovah said to Moses, Rise up early in the morning, and stand before Pharaoh. Look, he will come out to the water, and say to him, So says Jehovah, Let my people go, that they may serve me. Or else, if you will not let my people go, look, I will send swarms of flies upon you, and upon your servants, and upon your people, and into your houses, and the houses of the Egyptians shall be full of swarms of flies, and also on the ground where they are. And I will sever in that day the land of Goshen, in which my people dwell, that no swarms of flies shall be there. At the end you may know that I am Jehovah in the middle of the earth. And I will put a division between my people and your people, the sign shall be tomorrow. And Jehovah did so, and there came a grievous swarm of flies into the house of Pharaoh, and into his servants' houses, and into all the land of Egypt. The land was corrupted by reason of the swarm of flies. And Pharaoh called for Moses and for Aaron, and said, Go all of you, sacrifice to your God in the land. And Moses said, It is not right to do so, for we shall sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians to Jehovah our God. Look, shall we sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians before their eyes, and will they not stone us? We will go 3 days' journey into the wilderness, and sacrifice to Jehovah our God, as he shall command us. And Pharaoh said, I will let you go, that you all may sacrifice to Jehovah your God in the wilderness, only you all shall not go very far away. Pray for me. And Moses said, Look, I go out from you, and I will pray to Jehovah that the swarms of flies may depart from Pharaoh, from his servants, and from his people, tomorrow. But do not let Pharaoh deal deceitfully any more in not letting the people go to sacrifice to Jehovah. And Moses went out from Pharaoh, and prayed to Jehovah. And Jehovah did according to the word of Moses, and he removed the swarms of flies from Pharaoh, from his servants, and from his people, there remained not one. And Pharaoh hardened his heart at this time also, neither would he let the people go. Then Jehovah said to Moses, Go into Pharaoh, and tell him, So says Jehovah God of the Hebrews, Let my people go, that they may serve me. For if you refuse to let them go, and will hold them still, look, the hand of Jehovah is upon your cattle which is in the field, upon the horses, upon the male donkeys, upon the camels, upon the oxen, and upon the sheep, there shall be a very grievous plague. And Jehovah shall sever between the cattle of Israel and the cattle of Egypt, and there nothing shall die of all that is the children of Israel's. And Jehovah appointed a set time, saying, Tomorrow Jehovah shall do this thing in the land. And Jehovah did that thing the next day, and all the cattle of Egypt died, but not one of the cattle of the children of Israel died. And Pharaoh sent, and look, there was not one of the cattle of the Israelites dead. And the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, and he did not let the people go. And Jehovah said to Moses and to Aaron, Take to yourselves handfuls of ashes of the furnace, and let Moses sprinkle it towards heaven in the sight of Pharaoh. And it shall become small dust in all the land of Egypt, and shall be a boil breaking out with blisters upon man, and upon beast, throughout all the land of Egypt. And they took ashes of the furnace, and stood before Pharaoh, and Moses sprinkled it up towards heaven, and it became a boil breaking out with blisters upon man, and upon beast. And the magicians could not stand before Moses because of the boils, for the boil was upon the magicians, and upon all the Egyptians. And Jehovah hardened the heart of Pharaoh, and he did not listen to them, as Jehovah had spoken to Moses. And Jehovah said to Moses, Rise up early in the morning, and stand before Pharaoh, and say to him, So says Jehovah God of the Hebrews, Let my people go, that they may serve me. For I will at this time send all my plagues upon your heart, and upon your servants, and upon your people, that you may know that there is none like me in all the earth. For now I will stretch out my hand, that I may strike you and your people with pestilence, and you shall be cut off from the earth. And indeed for this cause have I raised you up, for to show in you my power, and that my name may be declared throughout all the earth. As yet you exalt yourself against my people, that you will not let them go. Look, tomorrow about this time I will cause it to rain a very grievous hail, such as has not been in Egypt since the foundation there even until now. Therefore send now, and gather your cattle, and all that you have in the field, for upon every man and beast which shall be found in the field, and shall not be brought home, the hail shall come down upon them, and they shall die. He that feared the word of Jehovah among the servants of Pharaoh made his servants and his cattle flee into the houses. And he that did not regard the word of Jehovah left his servants and his cattle in the field. And Jehovah said to Moses, Stretch out your hand towards heaven, that there may be hail in all the land of Egypt, upon man, and upon beast, and upon every herb of the field, throughout the land of Egypt. And Moses stretched out his rod towards heaven, and Jehovah sent thunder and hail, and the fire ran along upon the ground, and Jehovah rained hail upon the land of Egypt. So there was hail, and fire mingled with the hail, very grievous, such as there was none like it in all the land of Egypt since it became a nation. And the hail struck throughout all the land of Egypt all that was in the field, both man and beast, and the hail struck every herb of the field, and broke every tree of the field. Only in the land of Goshen, where the children of Israel were, was there no hail. And Pharaoh sent, and called for Moses and Aaron, and said to them, I have sinned this time, Jehovah is righteous, and I and my people are wicked. Pray to Jehovah, for it is enough, that there be no more mighty thundering and hail, and I will let you go, and you all shall no longer stay. And Moses said to him, As soon as I am gone out of the city, I will spread wide my hands to Jehovah, and the thunder shall cease, neither shall there be any more hail, that you may know how that the earth is Jehovah's. But as for you and your servants, I know that you all will not yet fear Jehovah God. And the flax and the barley were stricken, for the barley was in the ear, and the flax was budded. But the wheat and the rye were not stricken, for they were not grown up. And Moses went out of the city from Pharaoh, and spread wide his hands to Jehovah, and the thunders and hail ceased, and the rain was not poured upon the earth. And when Pharaoh saw that the rain and the hail and the thunders were ceased, he sinned yet more, and hardened his heart, he and his servants. And the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, neither would he let the children of Israel go, as Jehovah had spoken by Moses. And Jehovah said to Moses, Go into Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart, and the heart of his servants, that I might show these my signs before him. And that you may tell in the ears of your son, and of your son's son, what things I have severely done in Egypt, and my signs which I have done among them, that you all may know how that I am Jehovah. And Moses and Aaron came into Pharaoh, and said to him, So says Jehovah God of the Hebrews, How long will you refuse to humble yourself before me? Let my people go, that they may serve me. Or else, if you refuse to let my people go, look, tomorrow I will bring the locusts into your coast. And they shall cover the face of the earth, that one cannot be able to see the earth, and they shall eat the residue of that which has escaped, which remains to you from the hail, and shall eat every tree which grows for you out of the field. And they shall fill your houses, and the houses of all your servants, and the houses of all the Egyptians, which neither your fathers, or your fathers' fathers have seen, since the day that they were upon the earth to this day. And he turned himself, and went out from Pharaoh. And Pharaoh's servants said to him, How long shall this man be a snare to us? Let the men go, that they may serve Jehovah their God. Do you not know yet that Egypt is destroyed? And Moses and Aaron were brought again to Pharaoh, and he said to them, Go, serve Jehovah your God, but who are they that shall go? And Moses said, We will go with our young and with our old, with our sons and with our daughters, with our flocks and with our herds will we go, for we must hold a feast to Jehovah. And he said to them, Let Jehovah be so with you, as I will let you go, and your little ones, look to it, for evil is before you. Not so, go now all of you that are men, and serve Jehovah, for you all did desire that. And they were driven out from Pharaoh's presence. And Jehovah said to Moses, Stretch out your hand over the land of Egypt for the locusts, that they may come up upon the land of Egypt, and eat every herb of the land, even all that the hail has left. And Moses stretched out his rod over the land of Egypt, and Jehovah brought an east wind upon the land all that day, and all that night, and when it was morning, the east wind brought the locusts. And the locusts went up over all the land of Egypt, and rested in all the coasts of Egypt. They were very grievous, before them there were no such locusts as they, neither after them shall there be such. For they covered the face of the whole earth, so that the land was darkened, and they did eat every herb of the land, and all the fruit of the trees which the hail had left, and there remained nothing of any green thing in the trees, or in the herbs of the field, through all the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron in quickly, and he said, I have sinned against Jehovah your God, and against you. Now therefore forgive, now, my sin only this once, and pray to Jehovah your God, that he may take away from me this death altogether. And he went out from Pharaoh, and prayed to Jehovah. And Jehovah turned a mighty strong west wind, which took away the locusts, and cast them into the Red Sea. There remained not one locust in all the coasts of Egypt. But Jehovah hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let the children of Israel go. And Jehovah said to Moses, Stretch out your hand towards heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt. And Moses stretched out his hand towards heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt for 3 days. They did not see one another, neither did anyone rise from his place for 3 days, but all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. And Pharaoh called to Moses, and said, You go, serve Jehovah, only let your flocks and your herds stay here, let your little ones also go with you. And Moses said, You must give us also sacrifices and burnt offerings, that we may sacrifice to Jehovah our God. Our cattle also shall go with us, there shall not be a hoof left behind, for we must take of these to serve Jehovah our God, and we do not know with what we must serve Jehovah, until we come to there. But Jehovah hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let them go. And Pharaoh said to him, Get yourself from me, beware to yourself, see my face no more, for in that day you see my face you shall die. And Moses said, You have spoken well, I will no more see your face again. And Jehovah said to Moses, Still I will bring one more plague upon Pharaoh, and upon Egypt, afterwards he will let you go from here. When he shall let you go, he shall surely thrust you out from here altogether. Speak now in the ears of the people, and let every man borrow of his neighbor, and every woman of her neighbor, jewels of silver, and jewels of gold. And Jehovah gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Also the man Moses was very great in the land of Egypt, in the sight of Pharaoh's servants, and in the sight of the people. And Moses said, So says Jehovah, about midnight will I go out into the middle of Egypt. And all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sits upon his throne, even to the firstborn of the maidservant that is behind the mill, and all the firstborn of beasts. And there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as there was none like it, or shall be like it any more. But against any of the children of Israel a dog shall not move his tongue against man or beast, that you all may know how that Jehovah does put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. And all these your servants shall come down to me, and bow themselves down to me, saying, You get out, and all the people that follow you, and after that I will go out. And he went out from Pharaoh in a great anger. And Jehovah said to Moses, Pharaoh shall not listen to you, that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. And Moses and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh, and Jehovah hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let the children of Israel go out of his land. And Jehovah spoke to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be to you the beginning of months, it shall be the first month of the year to you. Both of you speak to all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. And if the household is too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next to his house take it according to the number of the souls, every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year, you all shall take it out from the sheep, or from the goats. And you all shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. And they shall take of the blood, and strike it on the 2 side posts and on the upper doorpost of the houses, where they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Do not eat of it raw, or at all sodden with water, but roast with fire, his head with his legs, and with its inward parts. And you all shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remains of it until the morning you all shall burn with fire. And so shall you all eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and you all shall eat it quickly. It is Jehovah's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will strike all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am Jehovah. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where you all are, and when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you, when I strike the land of Egypt. And this day shall be to you for a memorial, and you all shall keep it a feast to Jehovah throughout your generations. You all shall keep it a feast by an ordinance always. 7 days shall you all eat unleavened bread, even on the first day you all shall put away leaven out of your houses, for whoever eats leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. And in the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and in the 7th day there shall be a holy convocation to you. Nothing of work shall be done on them, except that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. And you all shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for in this same day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall you all observe this day in your generations by an ordinance always. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at evening, you all shall eat unleavened bread, until the 21st day of the month at evening. 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses, for whoever eats that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he is a stranger, or born in the land. You all shall eat nothing leavened, in all your habitations shall you all eat unleavened bread. Then Moses called for all the elders of Israel, and said to them, Drag out and take yourselves a lamb according to your families, and kill the Passover. And you all shall take a bunch of hyssop, and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the 2 side posts with the blood that is in the basin, and none of you shall go out at the door of his house until the morning. For Jehovah will pass through to strike the Egyptians, and when he sees the blood upon the lintel, and on the 2 side posts, Jehovah will pass over the door, and will not send the destroyer to come into your houses to strike you. And you all shall observe this thing for an ordinance to you and to your sons always. And it shall come to pass, when you all have come to the land which Jehovah will give you, according to as he promised, that you all shall keep the service. And it shall come to pass, when your children shall say to you, What do all of you mean by the service? That you all shall say, It is the sacrifice of Jehovah's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he struck the Egyptians, and delivered our houses. And the people bowed the head and worshipped. And the children of Israel went away, and did as Jehovah had commanded Moses and Aaron, so they did. And it came to pass, that at midnight Jehovah struck all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne to the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he, and all his servants, and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. And he called for Moses and Aaron by night, and said, Rise up, and get yourselves out from among my people, both of you and the children of Israel, and go, serve Jehovah, as you both have said. Also take your flocks and your herds, as you both have said, and be gone, and bless me also. And the Egyptians were urgent upon the people, that they might send them out of the land quickly, for they said, We are all dead men. And the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading troughs being bound up in their clothes upon their shoulders. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses, and they borrowed of the Egyptians jewels of silver, and jewels of gold, and clothing. And Jehovah gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent to them such things as they required. And they plundered the Egyptians. And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Sukkah, about 600,000 on foot that were men, besides children. And a great mixed people also went up with them, and flocks, and herds, even very much cattle. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough which they brought out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt, and could not wait, neither had they prepared for themselves any food. Now the residing of the children of Israel, who dwelt in Egypt, was 430 years. And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the same day it came to pass, that all the armies of Jehovah went out from the land of Egypt. It is a night to be much observed to Jehovah for bringing them out from the land of Egypt. This is that night of Jehovah to be observed of all the children of Israel in their generations. And Jehovah said to Moses and Aaron, This is the ordinance of the Passover, there shall no stranger eat there. But every man's servant that is bought for money, when you have circumcised him, then he shall eat there. A foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat there. In one house shall it be eaten, you shall not carry out any of the flesh anywhere out of the house, neither shall any of you break a bone there. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. And when a stranger shall reside with you, and will keep the Passover to Jehovah, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it, and he shall be as one that is born in the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat there. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and to the stranger that resides among you. So did all the children of Israel, as Jehovah commanded Moses and Aaron, so they did. And it came to pass the same day, that Jehovah did bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their armies. And Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, Sanctify to me all the firstborn, whatever opens the womb among the children of Israel, both of man and of beast, it is mine. And Moses said to the people, Remember this day, in which you all came out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage, for by strength of hand Jehovah brought you out from this place, there shall no leavened bread be eaten. This day you all came out in the month of Aviv. And it shall be when Jehovah shall bring you into the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which he swore to your fathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, that you shall keep the service in this month. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and in the 7th day shall be a feast to Jehovah. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall be no leavened bread seen with you, neither shall there be leaven seen with you in all your borders. And you shall show your son in that day, saying, This is done because of that which Jehovah did to me when I came out of Egypt. And it shall be for a sign to you upon your hand, and for a memorial between your eyes, that Jehovah's law may be in your mouth, for with a strong hand has Jehovah brought you out of Egypt. You shall therefore keep this ordinance in his season from year to year. And it shall be when Jehovah shall bring you into the land of the Canaanites, as he swore to you and to your fathers, and shall give it to you, that you shall set apart to Jehovah all that opens the womb, and every firstling that comes of a beast which you have, the males shall be Jehovah's. And every firstling of a male donkey you shall redeem with a lamb, and if you will not redeem it, then you shall break his neck, and all the firstborn of man among your children shall you redeem. And it shall be when your son asks you in times to come, saying, What is this? That you shall say to him, By strength of hand Jehovah brought us out from Egypt, from the house of bondage. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh would hardly let us go, that Jehovah killed all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both the firstborn of man, and the firstborn of beast. Therefore I sacrifice to Jehovah all that opens the womb, being males, but all the firstborn of my children I redeem. And it shall be for a token upon your hand, and for frontlets between your eyes, for by strength of hand Jehovah brought us out outside of Egypt. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh had let the people go, that God led them not through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near, for God said, Or else perhaps the people repent when they see war, and they return to Egypt. But God led the people about, through the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea, and the children of Israel went up armed out of the land of Egypt. And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had strictly sworn the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and you all shall carry up my bones away from here with you. And they took their journey from Sukkah, and encamped in Etham, in the edge of the wilderness. And Jehovah went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud, to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire, to give them light, to go by day and night. He did not take away the pillar of the cloud by day, or the pillar of fire by night, from before the people. And Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, that they turn and encamp before Pahahiroth, between Migdol and the sea, over against Baal-Zephon, before it shall you all encamp by the sea. For Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, They are entangled in the land, the wilderness has shut them in. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, that he shall follow after them, and I will be honored over Pharaoh, and over all his army, that the Egyptians may know that I am Jehovah. And they did so. And it was told to the king of Egypt that the people fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and of his servants was turned against the people, and they said, Why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? And he made ready his chariot, and took his people with him. And he took 600 chosen chariots, and all the chariots of Egypt, and captains over every one of them. And Jehovah hardened the heart of Pharaoh king of Egypt, and he pursued after the children of Israel, and the children of Israel went out with a high hand. But the Egyptians pursued after them, all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, and his horsemen, and his army, and overtook them encamping by the sea, beside Pihahiroth, before Baal-Zephon. And when Pharaoh came near, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and look, the Egyptians marched after them, and they were very afraid, and the children of Israel cried out to Jehovah. And they said to Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, have you taken us away to die in the wilderness? Why have you dealt so with us, to carry us out of Egypt? Is not this the word that we did tell you in Egypt, saying, leave us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians, than that we should die in the wilderness. And Moses said to the people, do not fear all of you, stand still, and see the salvation of Jehovah, which he will show to you today, for the Egyptians whom you all have seen today, you all shall never see them any more again. Jehovah shall fight for you, and you all shall hold your peace. And Jehovah said to Moses, why do you cry to me? Speak to the children of Israel, that they go forward. But you lift up your rod, and stretch out your hand over the sea, and divide it, and the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the middle of the sea. And look, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them, and I will gain for myself honor over Pharaoh, and over all his army, over his chariots, and over his horsemen. And the Egyptians shall know that I am Jehovah, when I have gained for myself honor over Pharaoh, over his chariots, and over his horsemen. And the angel of God, which went before the camp of Israel, removed and went behind them, and the pillar of the cloud went from before their face, and stood behind them. And it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel, and it was a cloud and darkness to the one, but it gave light by night to the other, so that the one did not come near the other all that night. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and Jehovah caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. And the children of Israel went into the middle of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall to them on their right hand, and on their left. And the Egyptians pursued, and went in after them to the middle of the sea, even all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. And it came to pass, that in the morning watch Jehovah looked to the army of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of the cloud, and troubled the army of the Egyptians. And took off their chariot wheels, that they drove them heavily, so that the Egyptians said, let us flee from the face of Israel, for Jehovah fights for them against the Egyptians. And Jehovah said to Moses, stretch out your hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to its strength when the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled against it, and Jehovah overthrew the Egyptians in the middle of the sea. And the waters returned, and covered the chariots, and the horsemen, and all the army of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them, there remained not so much as one of them. But the children of Israel walked upon dry land in the middle of the sea, and the waters were a wall to them on their right hand, and on their left. So Jehovah saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore. And Israel saw that great work which Jehovah did upon the Egyptians, and the people feared Jehovah, and believed Jehovah, and his servant Moses. Then Moses and the children of Israel sang this song to Jehovah, and spoke, saying, I will sing to Jehovah, for he has triumphed gloriously, the horse and his rider he has thrown into the sea. Jehovah is my strength and song, and he has become my salvation, he is my God, and I will prepare him a habitation, my father's God, and I will exalt him. Jehovah is a man of war, Jehovah is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his army he has cast into the sea, his chosen captains also are drowned in the Red Sea. The depths have covered them, they sank into the bottom as a stone. Your right hand, O Jehovah, has become glorious in power, your right hand, O Jehovah, has dashed in pieces the enemy. And in the greatness of your excellency you have overthrown them that rose up against you, you sent out your wrath, which consumed them as stubble. And with the blast of your nostrils the waters were gathered together, the flood stood upright as a heap, and the depths were frozen in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the plunder, my lust shall be satisfied upon them, I will draw my sword, my hand shall destroy them. You did blow with your wind, the sea covered them, they sank as lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you, O Jehovah, among the gods? Who is like you, glorious in holiness, fearful in praises, doing wonders? You stretched out your right hand, the earth swallowed them. You in your mercy have led out the people which you have redeemed, you have guided them in your strength to your holy habitation. The people shall hear, and be afraid, sorrow shall take hold on the inhabitants of Palestina. Then the chiefs of Edom shall be amazed, the mighty men of Moab, trembling shall take hold upon them, all the inhabitants of Canaan shall melt away. Fear and dread shall fall upon them, by the greatness of your arm they shall be as still as a stone, till your people pass over, O Jehovah, till the people pass over, which you have purchased. You shall bring them in, and plant them in the mountain of your inheritance, in the place, O Jehovah, which you have made for yourself to dwell in the sanctuary, O Lord, which your hands have established. Jehovah shall reign forever and ever. For the horse of Pharaoh went in with his chariots and with his horsemen into the sea, and Jehovah brought again the waters of the sea upon them, but the children of Israel went on dry land in the middle of the sea. And Miriam the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. And Miriam answered them, Sing all of you to Jehovah, for he has triumphed gloriously, the horse and his rider he has thrown into the sea. So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur, and they went 3 days in the wilderness, and found no water. And when they came to Marah, they could not drink of the waters of Marah, for they were bitter, therefore the name of it was called Marah. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, What shall we drink? And he cried to Jehovah, and Jehovah showed him a tree, which when he had cast into the waters were made sweet, there he made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he tested them. And said, If you will diligently listen to the voice of Jehovah your God, and will do that which is right in his sight, and will give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon you, which I have brought upon the Egyptians, for I am Jehovah that heals you. And they came to Elim, where there were 12 wells of water, and 70 palm trees, and they encamped there by the waters. And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the 2nd month after their departing out of the land of Egypt. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said to them, O that we had died by the hand of Jehovah in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full, for you both have brought us out into this wilderness, to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Then said Jehovah to Moses, Look, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain amount every day, that I may test them, whether they will walk in my law, or not. And it shall come to pass, that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. And Moses and Aaron said to all the children of Israel, At evening, then you all shall know that Jehovah has brought you out from the land of Egypt. And in the morning, then you all shall see the glory of Jehovah, for he hears your murmurings against Jehovah, and what are we, that you all murmur against us? And Moses said, This shall be, when Jehovah shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full, for Jehovah hears your murmurings which you all murmur against him, and what are we? Your murmurings are not against us, but against Jehovah. And Moses spoke to Aaron, Say to all the congregation of the children of Israel, Come near before Jehovah, for he has heard your murmurings. And it came to pass, as Aaron spoke to the whole congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked towards the wilderness, and look, the glory of Jehovah appeared in the cloud. And Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel, speak to them, saying, At evening you all shall eat flesh, and in the morning you all shall be filled with bread, and you all shall know that I am Jehovah your God. And it came to pass, that at evening the quails came up, and covered the camp, and in the morning the dew lay all around the camp. And when the dew that lay had gone up, look, upon the face of the wilderness there lay a small round thing, as small as the hoarfrost on the ground. And when the children of Israel saw it, they said to one another, It is manna, for they did not know what it was. And Moses said to them, This is the bread which Jehovah has given you to eat. This is the thing which Jehovah has commanded, every man gather of it according to his eating, an omer for every man, according to the number of your souls, every man shall take for all of them which are in his tents. And the children of Israel did so, and gathered, some more, some less. And when they did measure it with an omer, he that gathered much had nothing over, and he that gathered little had no lack, they gathered every man according to his eating. And Moses said, Let no man leave it till the morning. But they did not listen to Moses, but some of them left it until the morning, and it bred worms, and stank, and Moses was angry with them. And they gathered it every morning, every man according to his eating, and when the sun waxed hot, it melted. And it came to pass, that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for one man, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And he said to them, This is that which Jehovah has said, Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath to Jehovah, bake that which you all will bake today, and boil that you all will boil, and that which remains over lay up for yourselves to be kept until the morning. And they laid it up till the morning, as Moses commanded, and it did not stink, neither was there any worm in it. And Moses said, Eat that today, for today is a Sabbath to Jehovah, today you all shall not find it in the field. 6 days you all shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none. And it came to pass, that there went out some of the people on the 7th day to gather, and they found none. And Jehovah said to Moses, How long do you all refuse to keep my commandments and my laws? See, for that Jehovah has given you the Sabbath, therefore he gave you on the 6th day the bread of 2 days, all of you remain every man in his place, let no man go out of his place on the 7th day. So the people rested on the 7th day. And the house of Israel called the name of it manna, and it was like coriander seed, white, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. And Moses said, This is the thing which Jehovah commanded, fill an omer of it to be kept for your generations, that they may see the bread which I have fed you in the wilderness, when I brought you out from the land of Egypt. And Moses said to Aaron, Take a pot, and put an omer full of manna in it, and lay it up before Jehovah, to be kept for your generations. As Jehovah commanded Moses, so Aaron laid it up before the testimony, to be kept. And the children of Israel did eat manna 40 years, until they came to a land inhabited, they did eat manna, until they came to the borders of the land of Canaan. Now an omer is the 10th part of an ephah. And all the congregation of the children of Israel journeyed from the wilderness of Sin, after their journeys, according to the commandment of Jehovah, and pitched in Rephidim, and there was no water for the people to drink. Therefore the people did strive with Moses, and said, Give us water that we may drink. And Moses said to them, Why do all of you strive with me? Therefore do you all tempt Jehovah? And the people thirsted there for water, and the people murmured against Moses, and said, Therefore is this why you have brought us up out of Egypt, to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst? And Moses cried to Jehovah, saying, What shall I do to this people? They are almost ready to stone me. And Jehovah said to Moses, Go on before the people, and take with you the elders of Israel, and your rod, where you struck the river, take it in your hand, and go. Look, I will stand before you there on the rock in Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and there shall come out of it water, that the people may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. And he called the name of the place Massah, and Meribah, because of the striving of the children of Israel, and because they tempted Jehovah, saying, Is Jehovah among us, or not? Then came Amalek, and fought with Israel in Rephidim. And Moses said to Joshua, Choose men out of us, and go out, fight with Amalek, tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of God in my hand. So Joshua did as Moses had said to him, and fought with Amalek, and Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And it came to pass, when Moses held up his hand, that Israel prevailed, and when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. But Moses' hands were heavy, and they took a stone, and put it under him, and he sat there on it, and Aaron and Hur held up his hands, the one on the one side, and the other on the other side, and his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. And Joshua weakened Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. And Jehovah said to Moses, Write this for a memorial in a book, and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua, for I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. And Moses built an altar, and called the name of it Jehovah Nissi. For he said, Because Jehovah has sworn that Jehovah will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. When Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses, and for Israel his people, and that Jehovah had brought Israel out of Egypt. Then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took Zipporah, Moses' wife, after he had sent her back. And her 2 sons, of which the name of the one was Gershom, for he said, I have been a foreigner in a strange land. And the name of the other was Eliezer, for the God of my father, he said, was my help, and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, came with his sons and his wife to Moses into the wilderness, where he encamped at the mountain of God. And he said to Moses, I your father-in-law Jethro have come to you, and your wife, and her 2 sons with her. And Moses went out to meet his father-in-law, and did bow down, and kissed him, and they asked each other of their peace, and they came into the tent. And Moses told his father-in-law all that Jehovah had done to Pharaoh and to the Egyptians for Israel's sake, and all the weariness that had come upon them by the way, and how Jehovah delivered them. And Jethro rejoiced for all the goodness which Jehovah had done to Israel, whom he had delivered out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Jethro said, Blessed be Jehovah, who has delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians, and out of the hand of Pharaoh, who has delivered the people from under the hand of the Egyptians. Now I know that Jehovah is greater than all gods, for in the thing where they acted proudly he was above them. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took a burnt offering and sacrifices for God, and Aaron came, and all the elders of Israel, to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law before God. And it came to pass on the next day, that Moses sat to judge the people, and the people stood by Moses from the morning to the evening. And when Moses' father-in-law saw all that he did to the people, he said, What is this thing that you do to the people? Why do you sit yourself alone, and all the people stand by you from morning to evening? And Moses said to his father-in-law, Because the people come to me to inquire of God. When they have a cause, they come to me, and I judge between one and another, and I do make them know the statutes of God, and his laws. And Moses' father-in-law said to him, The thing that you are doing is not good. You will surely wear away, both you, and this people that are with you, for this thing is too heavy for you, you are not able to perform it yourself alone. Listen now to my voice, I will give you counsel, and God shall be with you, you are for the people towards God, that you may bring the causes to God. And you shall teach them ordinances and laws, and shall show them the way where they must walk, and the work that they must do. And you shall provide out of all the people able men, such that fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place these over them, to be rulers of thousands, and rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10s. And let them judge the people at all seasons, and it shall be, that every great cause they shall bring to you, but every small cause they shall judge, so shall it be easier for yourself, and they shall bear the burden with you. If you shall do this thing, and God command you so, then you shall be able to endure, and all this people shall also go to their place in peace. So Moses listened to the voice of his father-in-law, and did all that he had said. And Moses chose able men out of all Israel, and made them heads over the people, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10s. And they judged the people at all seasons, the hard causes they brought to Moses, but every small cause they judged themselves. And Moses let his father-in-law depart, and he went his way into his own land. In the 3rd month, when the children of Israel had gone out of the land of Egypt, the same day they came into the wilderness of Sinai. For they had departed from Rephidim, and had come to the desert of Sinai, and had pitched in the wilderness, and there Israel camped before the mountain. And Moses went up to God, and Jehovah called to him out of the mountain, saying, So shall you say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel. You all have seen what I did to the Egyptians, and how I bore you on eagle's wings, and brought you to myself. Now therefore, if indeed all of you will obey my voice, and keep my covenant, then you all shall be a special treasure to me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And you all shall be to me a kingdom of priests, and a holy nation. These are the words which you shall speak to the children of Israel. And Moses came and called for the elders of the people, and laid before their faces all these words which Jehovah commanded him. And all the people answered together, and said, All that Jehovah has spoken we will do. And Moses returned the words of the people to Jehovah. And Jehovah said to Moses, Look, I come to you in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with you, and believe you forever. And Moses told the words of the people to Jehovah. And Jehovah said to Moses, Go to the people, and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes. And be ready for the 3rd day, for the 3rd day Jehovah will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai. And you shall set bounds to the people all around, saying, Beware to yourselves, that you all do not go up into the mountain, or touch the border of it, whoever touches the mountain shall be surely put to death. There shall not a hand touch it, but he shall surely be stoned, or shot through, whether it is beast or man, it shall not live. When the trumpet sounds long, they shall come up to the mountain. And Moses went down from the mountain to the people, and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes. And he said to the people, Be ready for the 3rd day, do not draw near to your wives. And it came to pass on the 3rd day in the morning, that there were thunders and lightnings, and a thick cloud upon the mountain, and the voice of the trumpet was exceedingly loud, so that all the people that were in the camp trembled. And Moses brought out the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the side part of the mountain. And Mount Sinai was totally smoking, because Jehovah descended upon it in fire, and the smoke there ascended as the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mountain quaked greatly. And when the voice of the trumpet sounded long, and grew louder and louder, Moses spoke, and God answered him by a voice. And Jehovah came down upon Mount Sinai, on the top of the mountain, and Jehovah called Moses up to the top of the mountain, and Moses went up. And Jehovah said to Moses, Go down, testify to the people, or else they may break through to Jehovah to gaze, and many of them perish. And let the priests also, which come near to Jehovah, sanctify themselves, or else Jehovah may break out upon them. And Moses said to Jehovah, The people cannot come up to Mount Sinai, for you commanded us, saying, Set bounds about the mountain, and sanctify it. And Jehovah said to him, Away, get yourself down, and you shall come up, you, and Aaron with you, but do not let the priests and the people break through to come up to Jehovah, or else he breaks out upon them. So Moses went down to the people, and spoke to them. And God spoke all these words, saying, I am Jehovah your God, which has brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make to yourself any carved image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth, beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow yourself down to them, or serve them, for I Jehovah your God am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy to thousands of them that love me, and keep my commandments. You shall not take the name of Jehovah your God in vain, for Jehovah will not hold him guiltless that takes his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. 6 days shall you labor, and do all your work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of Jehovah your God, in it you shall not do any work, you, or your son, or your daughter, your manservant, or your maidservant, or your cattle, or your stranger that is within your gates. For in 6 days Jehovah made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day, therefore Jehovah blessed the Sabbath day, and made it holy. Honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the land which Jehovah your God gives you. You shall not kill. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his manservant, or his maidservant, or his ox, or his male donkey, or anything that is your neighbor's. And all the people saw the thunderings, and the lightnings, and the noise of the trumpet, and the mountain smoking, and when the people saw it, they removed, and stood afar off. And they said to Moses, You speak with us, and we will hear, but do not let God speak with us, or else we will die. And Moses said to the people, Do not fear, for God has come to test you, and that his fear may be before your faces, that all of you do not sin. And the people stood afar off, and Moses drew near to the thick darkness where God was. And Jehovah said to Moses, So you shall say to the children of Israel, You all have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. You all shall not make with me gods of silver, neither shall you all make to yourselves gods of gold. You shall make to me an altar of earth, and shall sacrifice there on it your burnt offerings, and your peace offerings, your sheep and your oxen. In all places where I record my name I will come to you, and I will bless you. And if you will make me an altar of stone, you shall not build it of cut stone, for if you lift up your tool upon it, you have polluted it. Neither shall you go up by steps to my altar, that your nakedness will not be discovered there on it. Now these are the judgments which you shall set before them. If you buy a Hebrew servant, he shall serve 6 years, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master has given him a wife, and she has borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free. Then his master shall bring him to the judges, he shall also bring him to the door, or to the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with a boring instrument, and he shall serve him always. And if a man sells his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the menservants do. If she does not please her master, who has betrothed her to himself, then he shall let her be redeemed, he shall have no power to sell her to a strange nation, seeing he has dealt deceitfully with her. And if he has betrothed her to his son, he shall deal with her after the judgment of daughters. If he takes to himself another wife, he shall not keep back her food, her clothing, and her duty of marriage. And if he does not do these three to her, then shall she go out free without money. He that strikes a man, so that he dies, shall be surely put to death. And if a man does not lie in wait, but God delivers him into his hand, then I will appoint you a place where he shall flee. But if a man comes presumptuously upon his neighbor, to kill him with craftiness, you shall take him from my altar, that he may die. And he that strikes his father, or his mother, shall surely be put to death. And he that steals a man, and sells him, or if he is found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. And he that curses his father, or his mother, shall surely be put to death. And if men strive together, and one strikes another with a stone, or with his fist, and he does not die, but stays in his bed. If he rises again, and walks outside upon his staff, then shall he that struck him be clear, only he shall pay for the loss of his time, and shall cause him to be thoroughly healed. And if a man strikes his servant, or his maid, with a rod, and he dies under his hand, he shall be surely punished. Surely, if he continues a day or two, he shall not be punished, for he is his money. If men strive, and hurt a woman with a child, so that her child departs from her, and yet no mischief follows, he shall be surely punished, according as the woman's husband will lay upon him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. And if any mischief follows, then you shall give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. And if a man strikes the eye of his servant, or the eye of his maid, that it perishes, he shall let him go free for his eye's sake. And if he strikes out his manservant's tooth, or his maidservant's tooth, he shall let him go free for his tooth's sake. If an ox gore a man or a woman, that they die, then the ox shall be surely stoned, and his flesh shall not be eaten, but the owner of the ox shall be clear. But if the ox were given to goring in times past, and it has been testified to his owner, and he has not kept him in, but that he has killed a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned, and his owner also shall be put to death. If there is laid on him a sum of money, then he shall give for the ransom of his life whatever is laid upon him. Whether he has gored a son, or has gored a daughter, according to this judgment shall it be done to him. If the ox shall gore a manservant or a maidservant, he shall give to their master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox shall be stoned. And if a man shall open a pit, or if a man shall dig a pit, and not cover it, and an ox or a male donkey fall in it, the owner of the pit shall make it good, and give money to the owner of them, and the dead beast shall be his. And if one man's ox hurts another's, that he dies, then they shall sell the live ox, and divide the money of it, and they shall also divide the dead ox. Or if it is known that the ox is given to goring in times past, and his owner has not kept him in, he shall surely pay ox for ox, and the dead shall be his own. If a man shall steal an ox, or a sheep, and kill it, or sell it, he shall restore 5 oxen for an ox, and 4 sheep for a sheep. If a thief is found breaking in, and is struck so that he dies, there shall be no bloodshed for him. If the sun is raised upon him, there shall be bloodshed for him, for he should make full restitution. If he has nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft. If the theft is certainly found in his hand alive, whether it is an ox, or male donkey, or sheep, he shall restore double. If a man shall cause a field or vineyard to be eaten, and shall put in his beast, and shall feed in another man's field, of the best of his own field, and of the best of his own vineyard, he shall make restitution. If fire breaks out, and catches in thorns, so that the stacks of corn, or the standing corn, or the field, is consumed, he that kindled the fire shall surely make restitution. If a man shall deliver to his neighbor money or stuff to keep, and it is stolen out of the man's house, if the thief is found, let him pay double. If the thief is not found, then the master of the house shall be brought to the judges, to see whether he has put his hand to his neighbor's goods. For all acts of trespass, whether it is for an ox, for a male donkey, for sheep, for clothing, or for any lost thing, which another challenges to be his, the cause of both parties shall come before the judges, and whom the judges shall condemn, he shall pay double to his neighbor. If a man delivers to his neighbor a male donkey, or an ox, or a sheep, or any beast, to guard, and it dies, or is hurt, or driven away, no one seeing it, Then shall an oath of Jehovah be between them both, that he has not put his hand to his neighbor's goods, and the owner of it shall accept it, and he shall not make it good. And if it is stolen from him, he shall make restitution to the owner of it. If it is torn in pieces, then let him bring it for a witness, and he shall not make good that which was torn. And if a man borrows of his neighbor, and it is hurt, or dies, the owner of it being not with it, he shall surely make it good. But if the owner of it is with it, he shall not make it good. If it is a hired thing, it came for his hire. And if a man entices a maid that is not betrothed, and lies with her, he shall surely give a dowry for her to be his wife. If her father utterly refuses to give her to him, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins. You shall not let a witch live. Whoever lies with a beast shall surely be put to death. He that sacrifices to any god, except to Jehovah only, he shall be utterly destroyed. You shall neither do wrong to a stranger, nor oppress him, for you all were strangers in the land of Egypt. You all shall not afflict any widow, or fatherless child. If you afflict them in any way, and they cry at all to me, I will surely hear their cry. And my wrath shall grow hot, and I will kill you with the sword, and your wives shall be widows, and your children fatherless. If you lend money to any of my people that is poor by you, you shall not be to him as a lender, neither shall you lay upon him interest. If you at all take your neighbor's clothing as a pledge, you shall deliver it to him when the sun goes down. For that is his only covering, it is his clothing for his skin, in what shall he sleep? And it shall come to pass, when he cries to me, that I will hear, for I am gracious. You shall not revile the judges, or curse the ruler of your people. You shall not delay to offer the first of your ripe fruits, and of your juices, you shall give to me the firstborn of your sons. Likewise shall you do with your oxen, and with your sheep, 7 days it shall be with his mother, on the 8th day you shall give it to me. And you all shall be holy men to me, neither shall any of you eat any flesh that is torn of beasts in the field, you shall all cast it to the dogs. You shall not raise a false report, do not put your hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. You shall not follow many to do evil, neither shall you speak in a cause to decline after many to pervert judgment. Neither shall you honor a poor man in his cause. If you meet your enemy's ox or his male donkey going astray, you shall surely bring it back to him again. If you see the male donkey of him that hates you lying under his burden, and would stop from helping him, you shall surely help him. You shall not pervert the judgment of your poor in his cause. Keep yourself far from a false cause, and the innocent and righteous will not kill you, for I will not justify the wicked. And you shall not take a gift, for the gift blinds the wise, and perverts the words of the righteous. Also you shall not oppress a stranger, for you all know the heart of a stranger, seeing you all were strangers in the land of Egypt. And 6 years you shall sow your land, and shall gather in the fruits of it. But the 7th year you shall let it rest and lie still, that the poor of your people may eat, and what they leave the beasts of the field shall eat. In the same way you shall deal with your vineyard, and with your olive yard. 6 days you shall do your work, and on the 7th day you shall rest, that your ox and your male donkey may rest, and the son of your handmaid, and the stranger, may be refreshed. And in all things that I have said to you be on guard, and make no mention of the name of other gods, neither let it be heard out of your mouth. 3 times you shall keep a feast to me in the year. You shall keep the feast of unleavened bread, you shall eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded you, in the time appointed of the month Aviv, for in it you came out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. And the feast of harvest, the first fruits of your labors, which you have sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering, which is in the end of the year, when you have gathered in your labors out of the field. 3 times in the year all your males shall appear before the Lord Jehovah. You shall not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread, neither shall the fat of my sacrifice remain until the morning. The first of the first fruits of your land you shall bring into the house of Jehovah your God. You shall not boil a kid in its mother's milk. Look, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice, do not provoke him, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. But if you shall indeed obey his voice, and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy to your enemies, and an adversary to your adversaries. For my angel shall go before you, and bring you into the Amorites, and the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and the Canaanites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, and I will cut them off. You shall not bow down to their gods, or serve them, or do after their works, but you shall utterly overthrow them, and break down their images. And you all shall serve Jehovah your God, and he shall bless your bread, and your water, and I will take sickness away from the middle of you. Nothing there shall cast their young, or be barren, in your land, the number of your days I will fulfill. I will send my fear before you, and will destroy all the people to whom you shall come to, and I will make all your enemies turn their backs to you. And I will send hornets before you, which shall drive out the Hivite, the Canaanite, and the Hittite, from before you. I will not drive them out from before you in 1 year, or else the land becomes desolate, and the beast of the field multiplies against you. Little by little I will drive them out from before you, until you are increased, and inherit the land. And I will set your bounds from the Red Sea even to the sea of the Philistines, and from the desert to the river, for I will deliver the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and you shall drive them out before you. You shall make no covenant with them, or with their gods. They shall not dwell in your land, or else they make you sin against me, for if you serve their gods, it will surely be a snare to you. And he said to Moses, Come up to Jehovah, you, and Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and all of you worship afar off. And Moses alone shall come near Jehovah, but they shall not come near, neither shall the people go up with him. And Moses came and told the people all the words of Jehovah, and all the judgments, and all the people answered with one voice, and said, All the words which Jehovah has said we will do. And Moses wrote all the words of Jehovah, and rose up early in the morning, and built an altar under the hill, and 12 pillars, according to the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent young men of the children of Israel, which offered burnt offerings, and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen to Jehovah. And Moses took half of the blood, and put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. And he took the book of the covenant, and read it in the ears of the people, and they said, All that Jehovah has said will we do, and be obedient. And Moses took the blood, and sprinkled it on the people, and said, Look, the blood of the covenant, which Jehovah has made with you concerning all these words. Then Moses, and Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel went up. And they saw the God of Israel, and there was under his feet as it were a paved work of a sapphire stone, and as it were the body of heaven in its clearness. And upon the nobles of the children of Israel he did not lay his hand, also they saw God, and did eat and drink. And Jehovah said to Moses, Come up to me to the mountain, and be there, and I will give you tablets of stone, and a law, and commandments which I have written, that you may teach them. And Moses rose up, and his minister Joshua, and Moses went up into the mountain of God. And he said to the elders, You all remain here for us, until we come again to you, and look, Aaron and Hur are with you, if any man has something to say, let him come to them. And Moses went up into the mountain, and a cloud covered the mountain. And the glory of Jehovah settled upon Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days, and on the 7th day he called to Moses out of the middle of the cloud. And the sight of the glory of Jehovah was like devouring fire on the top of the mountain in the eyes of the children of Israel. And Moses went into the middle of the cloud, and he went up into the mountain, and Moses was in the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. And Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, that they bring me an offering, you all shall take my offering of every man that gives it willingly with his heart. And this is the offering which you all shall take of them, gold, and silver, and brass, and blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine linen, and goat's hair, and ram skins dyed red, and badger's skins, and shittim wood, oil for the light, spices for anointing oil, and for sweet incense, onyx stones, and stones to be set in the ephod, and in the breastplate. And let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them. According to all that I show you, after the pattern of the tabernacle, and the pattern of all the instruments of it, even so shall you all make it. And they shall make an ark of shittim wood, 2 cubits and a half shall be the length of it, and a cubit and a half the width of it, and a cubit and a half the height of it. And you shall overlay it with pure gold, within and without shall you overlay it, and shall make upon it a crown of gold all around. And you shall cast 4 rings of gold for it, and put them in the 4 corners of it, and 2 rings shall be in the one side of it, and 2 rings in the other side of it. And you shall make poles of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold. And you shall put the poles into the rings by the sides of the ark, that the ark may be carried with them. The poles shall be in the rings of the ark, they shall not be taken from it. And you shall put into the ark the testimony which I shall give you. And you shall make a mercy seat of pure gold, 2 cubits and a half shall be the length of it, and a cubit and a half the width of it. And you shall make 2 cherubims of gold, of beaten work shall you make them, in the 2 ends of the mercy seat. And make 1 cherub on the one end, and the other cherub on the other end, even of the mercy seat shall you all make the cherubims on the 2 ends of it. And the cherubims shall stretch out their wings on high, covering the mercy seat with their wings, and their faces shall look one to another, towards the mercy seat shall be the faces of the cherubims. And you shall put the mercy seat above upon the ark, and in the ark you shall put the testimony that I shall give you. And there I will meet with you, and I will commune with you from above the mercy seat, from between the 2 cherubims which are upon the ark of the testimony, of all things which I will give you in commandment to the children of Israel. You shall also make a table of shittim wood, 2 cubits shall be the length of it, and a cubit the width of it, and a cubit and a half the height of it. And you shall overlay it with pure gold, and make to this a crown of gold all around. And you shall make unto it a border of a hand width all around, and you shall make a golden crown to the border of it all around. And you shall make for it 4 rings of gold, and put the rings in the 4 corners that are on the 4 feet of it. Over against the border shall the rings be for places of the poles to bear the table. And you shall make the poles of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold, that the table may be carried with them. And you shall make the dishes of it, and spoons of it, and covers of it, and bowls of it, to cover it all, you shall make them of pure gold. And you shall set upon the table showbread before me always. And you shall make a menorah of pure gold, the menorah shall be made of beaten work, its shaft, and its branches, its bowls, its bulbs, and its flowers, shall be of the same. And 6 branches shall come out of the sides of it, 3 branches of the menorah out of the one side, and 3 branches of the menorah out of the other side. 3 bowls made like almonds, with a bulb and a flower in one branch, and 3 bowls made like almonds in the other branch, with a bulb and a flower, so in the 6 branches that come out of the menorah. And in the menorah shall be 4 bowls made like almonds, with their bulbs and their flowers. And there shall be a bulb under 2 branches of the same, and a bulb under 2 branches of the same, and a bulb under 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches that proceed out of the menorah. Their bulbs and their branches shall be of the same, all it shall be one beaten work of pure gold. And you shall make the 7 lamps of it, and they shall light the lamps of it, that they may give light on its face. And the tongs of it, and the fire pans of it, shall be of pure gold. Of a talent of pure gold shall he make it, with all these vessels. And see that you make them after their pattern, which was shown to you in the mountain. And you shall make the tabernacle with 10 curtains of fine twined linen, and blue, and purple, and scarlet, with cherubims of cunning work shall you make them. The length of 1 curtain shall be 28 cubits, and the width of 1 curtain 4 cubits, and every one of the curtains shall have 1 measure. The 5 curtains shall be coupled together one to another, and the other 5 curtains shall be coupled one to another. And you shall make loops of blue upon the edge of the one curtain from the end in the place of joining, and likewise shall you make in the outermost edge of another curtain, in the place of joining of the second. 50 loops shall you make in the one curtain, and 50 loops shall you make in the edge of the curtain that is in the place of joining of the second, that the loops may take hold one of another. And you shall make 50 hooks of gold, and couple the curtains together with the hooks, and it shall be one tabernacle. And you shall make curtains of goat's hair to be a covering upon the tabernacle, 11 curtains shall you make. The length of 1 curtain shall be 30 cubits, and the width of 1 curtain 4 cubits, and the 11 curtains shall be all of 1 measure. And you shall couple 5 curtains by themselves, and 6 curtains by themselves, and shall double the 6th curtain in the forefront of the tabernacle. And you shall make 50 loops on the edge of the one curtain that is outermost in the place of joining, and 50 loops in the edge of the curtain which joins the second. And you shall make 50 hooks of brass, and put the hooks into the loops, and couple the tent together, that it may be one. And the excess that remains of the curtains of the tent, the half curtain that remains, shall hang over the backside of the tabernacle. And a cubit on the one side, and a cubit on the other side of that which remains in the length of the curtains of the tent, it shall hang over the sides of the tabernacle on this side and on that side, to cover it. And you shall make a covering for the tent of ram's skins dyed red, and a covering above of badger's skins. And you shall make boards for the tabernacle of shittim wood standing up. 10 cubits shall be the length of a board, and a cubit and a half shall be the width of one board. 2 hand lengths there shall be in one board, set in order one against another, so shall you make for all the boards of the tabernacle. And you shall make the boards for the tabernacle, 20 boards on the south side southward. And you shall make 40 bases of silver under the 20 boards, 2 bases under one board for its 2 hand lengths, and 2 bases under another board for its 2 hand lengths. And for the second side of the tabernacle on the north side there shall be 20 boards. And there 40 bases of silver, 2 bases under one board, and 2 bases under another board. And for the sides of the tabernacle westward you shall make 6 boards. And 2 boards shall you make for the corners of the tabernacle in the 2 sides. And they shall be coupled together beneath, and they shall be coupled together above the head of it to one ring, so shall it be for them both, they shall be for the 2 corners. And there shall be 8 boards, and their bases of silver, 16 bases, 2 bases under one board, and 2 bases under another board. And you shall make bars of shittim wood, 5 for the boards of the one side of the tabernacle. And 5 bars for the boards of the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the side of the tabernacle, for the 2 sides westward. And the middle bar in the middle of the boards shall reach from end to end. And you shall overlay the boards with gold, and make their rings of gold for places for the bars, and you shall overlay the bars with gold. And you shall rear up the tabernacle according to the fashion of it which was shown to you in the mountain. And you shall make a veil of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen of cunning work, with cherubims it shall be made. And you shall hang it upon 4 pillars of shittim wood overlaid with gold, their hooks shall be of gold, upon the 4 bases of silver. And you shall hang up the veil under the hooks, that you may bring into there within the veil the ark of the testimony, and the veil shall divide for you between the holy place and the most holy. And you shall put the mercy seat upon the ark of the testimony in the most holy place. And you shall set the table outside the veil, and the menorah over against the table on the side of the tabernacle towards the south, and you shall put the table on the north side. And you shall make a hanging for the door of the tent, of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen, made with needlework. And you shall make for the hanging 5 pillars of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold, and their hooks shall be of gold, and you shall cast 5 bases of brass for them. And you shall make an altar of shittim wood, 5 cubits long, and 5 cubits wide, the altar shall be 4 square, and the height of it shall be 3 cubits. And you shall make the horns of it upon the 4 corners of it, its horns shall be of the same, and you shall overlay it with brass. And you shall make its pans to receive its ashes, and its shovels, and its basins, and its flesh hooks, and its fire pans, all the vessels of it you shall make of brass. And you shall make for it a grate of network of brass, and upon the net shall you make 4 bronze rings in the 4 corners of it. And you shall put it under the rim, beneath the altar, that the net may be also to the middle of the altar. And you shall make poles for the altar, poles of shittim wood, and overlay them with brass. And the poles shall be put into the rings, and the poles shall be upon the 2 sides of the altar, to bear it. You shall make it hollow with boards, as it was shown you in the mountain, so shall they make it. And you shall make the cord of the tabernacle, for the south side southward there shall be hangings for the cord of fine twined linen of 100 cubits long for one side. And the 20 pillars of it and their 20 bases shall be of brass, the hooks of the pillars and their rings shall be of silver. And likewise in the length of the north side there shall be hangings of 100 cubits long, and its 20 pillars and their 20 bases of brass, the hooks of the pillars and their rings of silver. And for the width of the court on the west side shall be hangings of 50 cubits, their pillars 10, and their bases 10. And the width of the court on the east side eastward shall be 50 cubits. The hangings of one side of the gate shall be 15 cubits their 3 pillars, and their 3 bases. And on the other side shall be hangings 15 cubits their 3 pillars, and their 3 bases. And for the gate of the court shall be a hanging of 20 cubits, of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen, made with needlework, and their pillars shall be 4, and their bases 4. All the pillars all around the court shall be attached with silver, their hooks shall be of silver, and their bases of brass. The length of the court shall be 100 cubits, and the width everywhere 50, and the height 5 cubits of fine twined linen, and their bases of brass. All the vessels of the tabernacle in all the service of it, and all the pegs of it, and all the pegs of the court, shall be of brass. And you shall command the children of Israel, that they bring you pure olive oil beaten for the light, to cause the lamp to always burn. In the tabernacle of the congregation outside the veil, which is before the testimony, Aaron and his sons shall order it from evening to morning before Jehovah, it shall be a statute always to their generations on behalf of the children of Israel. And take yourself to Aaron your brother, and his sons with him, from among the children of Israel, that he may minister to me in the priest's office, even Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar, Aaron's sons. And you shall make for Aaron your brother holy garments for glory and for beauty. And you shall speak to all that are wise-hearted, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, that they may make Aaron's garments to consecrate him, that he may minister to me in the priest's office. And these are the garments which they shall make: a breastplate, and an ephod, and a robe, and a broidered coat, a turban, and a sash, and they shall make holy garments for Aaron your brother, and his sons, that he may minister to me in the priest's office. And they shall take gold, and blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine linen. And they shall make the ephod of gold, of blue, and of purple, of scarlet, and fine twined linen, with cunning work. It shall have the 2 shoulder pieces of it joined at the 2 edges of it, and so it shall be joined together. And the embroidered sash of the ephod, which is upon it, shall be of the same, according to the work of it, even of gold, of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen. And you shall take 2 onyx stones, and engrave on them the names of the children of Israel. 6 of their names on one stone, and the other 6 names of the rest on the other stone, according to their birth. With the work of an engraver in stone, like the engravings of a signet, shall you engrave the 2 stones with the names of the children of Israel. You shall make them to be set in platings of gold. And you shall put the 2 stones upon the shoulders of the ephod for stones of memorial to the children of Israel, and Aaron shall bear their names before Jehovah upon his 2 shoulders for a memorial. And you shall make plated work of gold. And you shall make 2 chains of pure gold at the ends, of wreathen work, and fasten the wreathen chains to the plated work. And you shall make the breastplate of judgment with cunning work. After the work of the ephod you shall make it, of gold, of blue, and of purple, and of scarlet, and of fine twined linen, shall you make it. It shall be squared being doubled, a span shall be the length of it, and a span shall be the width of it. And you shall set in it settings of stones, even 4 rows of stones. The first row shall be a sardius, a topaz, and a carbuncle. This shall be the first row. And the second row shall be an emerald, a sapphire, and a diamond. And the third row a ligure, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row a beryl, and an onyx, and a jasper. They shall be set in gold in their enclosings. And the stones shall be according to the names of the children of Israel, 12, according to their names, like the engravings of a signet, every one with his name shall they be according to the 12 tribes. And you shall make upon the breastplate chains at the ends of wreathen work of pure gold. And you shall make upon the breastplate 2 rings of gold, and shall put the 2 rings on the 2 ends of the breastplate. And you shall put the 2 wreathen chains of gold in the 2 rings which are on the ends of the breastplate. And the other 2 ends of the 2 wreathen chains you shall fasten in the 2 plated work, and put them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod before it. And you shall make 2 rings of gold, and you shall put them upon the 2 ends of the breastplate in the border of it, which is in the inward side of the ephod. And you shall make 2 other rings of gold, and shall put them underneath the 2 sides of the ephod, towards the front part of it, over against the other joining place of it, above the embroidered sash of the ephod. And they shall bind the breastplate by the rings of it to the rings of the ephod with a lace of blue, that it may be above the embroidered sash of the ephod, and that the breastplate is not loosed from the ephod. And Aaron shall bear the names of the children of Israel in the breastplate of judgment upon his heart, when he goes into the holy place, for a continual memorial before Jehovah. And you shall put in the breastplate of judgment the Urim and the Thummim, and they shall be upon Aaron's heart, when he goes in before Jehovah, and Aaron shall bear the judgment of the children of Israel upon his heart before Jehovah continually. And you shall make the robe of the ephod all of blue. And there shall be a hole in the top of it, in the middle of it, it shall have a binding of woven work all around the hole, as if it were the hole of a corslet, that it is not torn. And beneath upon the hem of it you shall make pomegranates of blue, and of purple, and of scarlet, all around the hem of it, and bells of gold between them all around. A golden bell and a pomegranate, a golden bell and a pomegranate, upon the hem of the robe all around. And it shall be upon Aaron to minister, and his sound shall be heard when he goes into the holy place before Jehovah, and when he comes out, that he does not die. And you shall make a plate of pure gold, and engrave upon it, like the engravings of a signet, holiness to Jehovah. And you shall put it on a blue lace, that it may be upon the turban, upon the forefront of the turban it shall be. And it shall be upon Aaron's forehead, that Aaron may bear the iniquity of the holy things, which the children of Israel shall sanctify in all their holy gifts, and it shall be always upon his forehead, that they may be accepted before Jehovah. And you shall embroider the coat of fine linen, and you shall make the turban of fine linen, and you shall make the sash of needlework. And for Aaron's sons you shall make coats, and you shall make for them sashes, and you shall make caps for them, for glory and for beauty. And you shall put them upon Aaron your brother, and his sons with him, and shall anoint them, and consecrate them, and sanctify them, that they may minister to me in the priest's office. And you shall make them linen underwear to cover their nakedness, they shall reach from the hips even to the thighs. And they shall be upon Aaron, and upon his sons, when they come into the tabernacle of the congregation, or when they come near to the altar to minister in the holy place, that they do not bear iniquity, and die. It shall be a statute always to him and his seed after him. And this is the thing that you shall do to them to sanctify them, to minister to me in the priest's office: take 1 young bullock, and 2 rams without blemish, and unleavened bread, and unleavened cakes mixed with oil, and you shall make them unleavened wafers anointed with oil of wheaten flour. And you shall put them into 1 basket, and bring them in the basket, with the bullock and the 2 rams. And you shall bring Aaron and his sons to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and shall wash them with water. And you shall take the garments, and put upon Aaron the coat, and the robe of the ephod, and the breastplate, and bind him with the embroidered sash of the ephod. And you shall put the turban upon his head, and put the holy crown upon the turban. Then you shall take the anointing oil, and pour it upon his head, and anoint him. And you shall bring his sons, and put coats upon them. And you shall bind them with sashes, Aaron and his sons, and put the caps on them, and the priest's office shall be theirs for a statute always, and you shall consecrate Aaron and his sons. And you shall have a bullock brought before the tabernacle of the congregation, and Aaron and his sons shall put their hands upon the head of the bullock. And you shall kill the bullock before Jehovah, by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And you shall take of the blood of the bullock, and put it upon the horns of the altar with your finger, and pour all the blood beside the bottom of the altar. And you shall take all the fat that covers the inward parts, and the lobe that is above the liver, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, and burn them upon the altar. But the flesh of the bullock, and his skin, and his dung, you shall burn with fire outside the camp, it is a sin offering. You shall also take 1 ram, and Aaron and his sons shall put their hands upon the head of the ram. And you shall kill the ram, and you shall take his blood, and sprinkle it all around upon the altar. And you shall cut the ram in pieces, and wash the inward parts of him, and his legs, and put them with his pieces, and with his head. And you shall burn the whole ram upon the altar, it is a burnt offering to Jehovah, it is a sweet savor, an offering made by fire to Jehovah. And you shall take the other ram, and Aaron and his sons shall put their hands upon the head of the ram. Then you shall kill the ram, and take of his blood, and put it upon the tip of the right ear of Aaron, and upon the tip of the right ear of his sons, and upon the thumb of their right hand, and upon the great toe of their right foot, and sprinkle the blood upon the altar all around. And you shall take of the blood that is upon the altar, and of the anointing oil, and sprinkle it upon Aaron, and upon his garments, and upon his sons, and upon the garments of his sons with him, and he shall be sanctified, and his garments, and his sons' garments with him. Also you shall take of the ram the fat and the rump, and the fat that covers the inward parts, and the lobe above the liver, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, and the right shoulder, for it is a ram of consecration. And 1 loaf of bread, and 1 cake of oiled bread, and 1 wafer out of the basket of the unleavened bread that is before Jehovah. And you shall put all in the hands of Aaron, and in the hands of his sons, and shall wave them for a wave offering before Jehovah. And you shall receive them of their hands, and burn them upon the altar for a burnt offering, for a sweet savor before Jehovah, it is an offering made by fire to Jehovah. And you shall take the breast of the ram of Aaron's consecration, and wave it for a wave offering before Jehovah, and it shall be your portion. And you shall sanctify the breast of the wave offering, and the shoulder of the heave offering, which is waved, and which is heaved up, of the ram of the consecration, even of that which is for Aaron, and of that which is for his sons. And it shall be Aaron's and his sons by a statute always from the children of Israel, for it is a heave offering, and it shall be a heave offering, from the children of Israel of the sacrifice of their peace offerings, even their heave offering to Jehovah. And the holy garments of Aaron shall be his sons after him, to be anointed in them, and to be consecrated in them. And that son that is priest instead shall put them on for 7 days, when he comes into the tabernacle of the congregation to minister in the holy place. And you shall take the ram of the consecration, and boil his flesh in the holy place. And Aaron and his sons shall eat the flesh of the ram, and the bread that is in the basket, by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And they shall eat those things where the atonement was made, to consecrate and to sanctify them, but a stranger shall not eat of it, because they are holy. And if any of the flesh of the consecrations, or of the bread, remain until the morning, and then you shall burn the remainder with fire, it shall not be eaten, because it is holy. And so shall you do to Aaron, and to his sons, according to all the things which I have commanded you. 7 days shall you consecrate them. And you shall offer every day a bullock for a sin offering for atonement, and you shall cleanse the altar, when you have made an atonement for it, and you shall anoint it, to sanctify it. 7 days you shall make an atonement for the altar, and sanctify it, and it shall be an altar most holy. Whatever touches the altar shall be holy. Now this is that which you shall offer upon the altar, 2 lambs continually of the first year day by day. The one lamb you shall offer in the morning, and the other lamb you shall offer at evening. And with the one lamb 1/10 part of flour mingled with the 4th part of a hin of beaten oil, and the 4th part of a hin of wine for a drink offering. And the other lamb you shall offer at evening, and shall do also according to the meal offering of the morning, and according to the drink offering of it, for a sweet savor, an offering made by fire to Jehovah. This shall be a continual burnt offering throughout your generations at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before Jehovah, where I will meet with you, to speak there to you. And there I will meet with the children of Israel, and the tabernacle shall be sanctified by my glory. And I will sanctify the tabernacle of the congregation, and the altar. I will sanctify also both Aaron and his sons, to minister to me in the priest's office. And I will dwell among the children of Israel, and will be their God. And they shall know that I am Jehovah their God, that brought them out of the land of Egypt, that I may dwell among them. I am Jehovah their God. And you shall make an altar to burn incense upon it. You shall make it of shittim wood. A cubit shall be the length of it, and a cubit the width of it. It shall be 4 and 2 cubits shall be the height of it. The horns of it shall be of the same. And you shall overlay it with pure gold, the top of it, and the sides of it all around, and the horns of it, and you shall make upon it a crown of gold all around. And you shall make to it 2 golden rings under the crown of it, by the 2 corners of it, upon the 2 sides of it shall you make it, and they shall be for places for the poles to bear it the same. And you shall make the poles of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold. And you shall put it before the veil that is by the ark of the testimony, before the mercy seat that is over the testimony, where I will meet with you. And Aaron shall burn on it sweet incense every morning. When he makes the lamps good, he shall burn incense upon it. And when Aaron lights the lamps at evening, he shall burn incense upon it, and incense always before Jehovah throughout your generations. You all shall not offer strange incense on it, or burnt sacrifice, or meal offering, neither shall all of you pour drink offering on it. And Aaron shall make an atonement upon the horns of it once a year with the blood of the sin offering of atonements. Once in the year shall he make atonement upon it throughout your generations. It is most holy to Jehovah. And Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, When you take the sum of the children of Israel after their number, then shall they give every man a ransom for his soul to Jehovah, when you number them, that there will be no plague among them, when you number them. This they shall give, every one that passes among them that are numbered, half a shekel after the shekel of the sanctuary. A shekel is 20 gerahs. A half shekel shall be the offering of Jehovah. Every one that passes among them that are numbered, from 20 years old and above, shall give an offering to Jehovah. The rich shall not give more, and the poor shall not give less than half a shekel, when they give an offering to Jehovah, to make an atonement for your souls. And you shall take the atonement money of the children of Israel, and shall appoint it for the service of the tabernacle of the congregation, that it may be a memorial to the children of Israel before Jehovah, to make an atonement for your souls. And Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, You shall also make a basin of brass, and its foot also of brass, to wash with, and you shall put it between the tabernacle of the congregation and the altar, and you shall put water in it. For Aaron and his sons shall wash their hands and their feet there. When they go into the tabernacle of the congregation, they shall wash with water, so that they do not die, or when they come near to the altar to minister, to burn an offering made by fire to Jehovah. So they shall wash their hands and their feet, that they do not die, and it shall be a statute always to them, even to him and to his seed throughout their generations. Also Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, You also take to yourself principal spices, of pure myrrh 500 shekels, and of sweet cinnamon half as much, even 250 shekels, and of sweet calamus 250 shekels. And of cassia 500 shekels, after the shekel of the sanctuary, and a hin of olive oil. And you shall make it an oil of holy ointment, an ointment compound after the art of the perfumer. It shall be a holy anointing oil. And you shall anoint the tabernacle of the congregation with it, and the ark of the testimony, and the table and all its vessels, and the menorah and its vessels, and the altar of incense, and the altar of burnt offering with all its vessels, and the basin and its foot. And you shall sanctify them, that they may be most holy, whatever touches them shall be holy. And you shall anoint Aaron and his sons, and consecrate them, that they may minister to me in the priest's office. And you shall speak to the children of Israel, saying, This shall be a holy anointing oil to me throughout your generations. It shall not be poured upon man's flesh, neither shall any of you make any other like it. After the composition of it, it is holy, and it shall be holy to you. Whoever compounds any like it, or whoever puts any of it upon a stranger, shall even be cut off from his people. And Jehovah said to Moses, Take to yourself sweet spices, stacte, and onycha, and galbanum resin, these sweet spices with pure frankincense, of each shall each be the same weight. And you shall make it a perfume, an ointment after the art of the perfumer, tempered together, pure and holy. And you shall beat some of it very small, and put it before the testimony in the tabernacle of the congregation, where I will meet with you, it shall be to you most holy. And as for the perfume which you shall make, you all shall not make to yourselves according to the composition of it, it shall be to you holy for Jehovah. Whoever shall make the same to smell of it, shall even be cut off from his people. And Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, See, I have called by name Bezaleel the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah. And I have filled him with the Spirit of God, in wisdom, and in understanding, and in knowledge, and in all kinds of workmanship. To devise cunning works, to work in gold, and in silver, and in brass. And in cutting of stones, to set them, and in carving of timber, to work in all kinds of workmanship. And I have given with him Aholiab, the son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan, and in the hearts of all that are wise-hearted I have put wisdom, that they may make all that I have commanded you. The tabernacle of the congregation, and the ark of the testimony, and the mercy seat that is upon it, and all the furniture of the tabernacle. And the table and its furniture, and the pure menorah with all its furniture, and the altar of incense. And the altar of burnt offering with all its furniture, and the basin and its foot. And the cloths of service, and the holy garments for Aaron the priest, and the garments of his sons, to minister in the priest's office. And the anointing oil, and sweet incense for the holy place, according to all that I have commanded you shall they do. And Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, You also speak to the children of Israel, saying, Surely my Sabbaths all of you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you all may know that I am Jehovah that does sanctify you. Therefore you all shall keep the Sabbath, for it is holy to you. Every one that defiles it shall surely be put to death, for whoever does any work on it, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Sabbath of rest, holy to Jehovah. Whoever does any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Therefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations, for a covenant always. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel always, for in 6 days Jehovah made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he rested, and was refreshed. And he gave to Moses, when he had made an end of communing with him upon the mountain of Sinai, 2 tablets of testimony, tablets of stone, written with the finger of God. And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down from out of the mountain, the people gathered themselves together to Aaron, and said to him, Up, make us gods, which shall go before us, for as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. And Aaron said to them, Break off the golden earrings, which are in the ears of your wives, of your sons, and of your daughters, and bring them to me. And all the people broke off the golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them to Aaron. And he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with a graving tool, after he had made it a molten calf, and they said, These are your gods, O Israel, which brought you up out of the land of Egypt. And when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it, and Aaron made proclamation, and said, Tomorrow is a feast to Jehovah. And they rose up early the next day, and offered burnt offerings, and brought peace offerings, and the people sat down to eat and to drink, and rose up to play. And Jehovah said to Moses, Go, get yourself down, for your people, which you brought out of the land of Egypt, have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them, they have made themselves a molten calf, and have worshipped it, and have sacrificed to it, and said, These are your gods, O Israel, which have brought you up out of the land of Egypt. And Jehovah said to Moses, I have seen this people, and look, it is a stiff-necked people. Now therefore leave me alone, that my wrath may wax hot against them, and that I may consume them, and I will make of you a great nation. And Moses was sickened before Jehovah his God, and said, Jehovah, why does your wrath grow hot against your people, which you have brought out of the land of Egypt with great power, and with a mighty hand? Therefore should the Egyptians speak, and say, For mischief did he bring them out, to kill them in the mountains, and to consume them from the face of the earth? Turn from your fierce wrath, and repent of this evil against your people. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, your servants, to whom you swore by your own self, and said to them, I will multiply your seed as the stars of heaven, and all this land that I have spoken of will I give to your seed, and they shall inherit it always. And Jehovah repented of the evil which he thought to do to his people. And Moses turned, and went down from the mountain, and the 2 tablets of the testimony were in his hand. The tablets were written on both their sides, on the one side and on the other were they written. And the tablets were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God, carved upon the tablets. And when Joshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, he said to Moses, There is a noise of war in the camp. And he said, It is not the voice of them that shout for mastery, neither is it the voice of them that cry for being overcome, but I hear the noise of them that sing. And it came to pass, as soon as he came near to the camp, that he saw the calf, and the dancing, and Moses' anger grow hot, and he cast the tablets out of his hands, and broke them beneath the mountain. And he took the calf which they had made, and burnt it in the fire, and ground it to powder, and scattered it upon the water, and made the children of Israel drink it. And Moses said to Aaron, What did this people do to you, that you have brought so great a sin upon them? And Aaron said, Do not let the anger of my Lord grow hot, you know the people, that they are set on mischief. For they said to me, Make us gods, which shall go before us, for as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. And I said to them, Whoever has any gold, let them break it off. So they gave it to me, then I cast it into the fire, and then came out this calf. And when Moses saw that the people were naked, for Aaron had made them naked to their shame among their enemies. Then Moses stood in the gate of the camp, and said, Who is on Jehovah's side? Let him come to me. And all the sons of Levi gathered themselves together to him. And he said to them, So says Jehovah God of Israel, Put every man his sword by his side, and go in and out from gate to gate throughout the camp, and kill every man his brother, and every man his companion, and every man his neighbor. And the children of Levi did according to the word of Moses, and there fell of the people that day about 3,000 men. For Moses had said, Consecrate yourselves today to Jehovah, even every man upon his son, and upon his brother, that he may give upon you a blessing this day. And it came to pass on the next day, that Moses said to the people, You all have sinned a great sin, and now I will go up to Jehovah, perhaps I shall make an atonement for your sin. And Moses returned to Jehovah, and said, Oh, this people have sinned a great sin, and have made themselves gods of gold. Yet now, if you will forgive their sin, and if not, blot me, now, out of your book which you have written. And Jehovah said to Moses, Whoever has sinned against me, him will I blot out of my book. Therefore now go, lead the people to the place of which I have spoken to you. Look, my angel shall go before you, nevertheless in the day when I will visit their sin upon them. And Jehovah plagued the people, because they made the calf, which Aaron made. And Jehovah said to Moses, Depart, and go up from here, you and the people which you have brought up out of the land of Egypt, to the land which I swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, saying, To your seed I will give it. And I will send an angel before you, and I will drive out the Canaanite, the Amorite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, to a land flowing with milk and honey, for I will not go up in the middle of you, for you are a stiff-necked people, or else I consume you in the way. And when the people heard these evil words, they mourned, and no man put on himself his ornaments. For Jehovah had said to Moses, Say to the children of Israel, You all are a stiff-necked people, I will come up into the middle of you in a moment, and consume you, therefore now take off your ornaments from yourselves, that I may know what to do to you. And the children of Israel stripped themselves of their ornaments by the mountain of Horeb. And Moses took the tabernacle, and pitched it outside the camp, afar off from the camp, and called it the tabernacle of the congregation. And it came to pass, that every one which sought Jehovah went out to the tabernacle of the congregation, which was outside the camp. And it came to pass, when Moses went out to the tabernacle, that all the people rose up, and every man stood at his tent door, and looked towards Moses, until he had gone into the tabernacle. And it came to pass, as Moses entered into the tabernacle, the cloudy pillar descended, and stood at the door of the tabernacle, and Jehovah talked with Moses. And all the people saw the cloudy pillar stand at the tabernacle door, and all the people rose up and worshipped, every man in his tent door. And Jehovah spoke to Moses face to face, as a man speaks to his friend. And he turned again into the camp, but his servant Joshua, the son of Nun, a young man, did not depart out of the tabernacle. And Moses said to Jehovah, See, you say to me, Bring up this people, and you have not let me know whom you will send with me. Yet you have said, I know you by name, and you have also found grace in my sight. Now therefore, now, if I have found grace in your sight, show me now your way, that I may know you, that I may find grace in your sight, and consider that this nation is your people. And he said, My presence shall go with you, and I will give you rest. And he said to him, If your presence does not go with me, do not carry us up from here. For in what shall it be known here that I and your people have found grace in your sight? Is it not in that you go with us? So shall we be separated, I and your people, from all the people that are upon the face of the earth. And Jehovah said to Moses, I will do this thing also that you have spoken, for you have found grace in my sight, and I know you by name. And he said, Now, show me your glory. And he said, I will make all my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim the name of Jehovah before you, and will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and will show mercy on whom I will show mercy. And he said, You cannot see my face, for there no man shall see me, and live. And Jehovah said, Look, there is a place by me, and you shall stand upon a rock. And it shall come to pass, while my glory passes by, that I will put you in a cleft of the rock, and will cover you with my hand while I pass by. And I will take away my hand, and you shall see my back parts, but my face shall not be seen. And Jehovah said to Moses, Cut out 2 tablets of stone like the first, and I will write upon these tablets the words that were in the first tablets, which you broke. And be ready in the morning, and come up in the morning to Mount Sinai, and present yourself there to me in the top of the mountain. And no man shall come up with you, neither let any man be seen throughout all the mountain, neither let the flocks or herds feed before that mountain. And he cut out 2 tablets of stone like the first, and Moses rose up early in the morning, and went up to Mount Sinai, as Jehovah had commanded him, and took in his hand the 2 tablets of stone. And Jehovah descended in the cloud, and stood with him there, and proclaimed the name of Jehovah. And Jehovah passed by before him, and proclaimed, Jehovah, Jehovah God, merciful and gracious, long-suffering, and abundant in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, and that will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, and upon the children's children, to the 3rd and to the 4th generation. And Moses hurried, and bowed his head towards the earth, and worshipped. And he said, If now I have found grace in your sight, O Lord, let my Lord, now, go among us, for it is a stiff-necked people, and pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us for your inheritance. And he said, Look, I make a covenant, before all your people I will do marvels, such as have not been done in all the earth, or in any nation, and all the people among which you are shall see the work of Jehovah, for it is a terrible thing that I will do with you. You observe that which I command you this day. Look, I drive out before you the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite. Beware to yourself, or else you make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land where you go, or else it will be a snare in the middle of you. But you all shall destroy their altars, break their images, and cut down their Asherah poles. For you shall worship no other God, for Jehovah, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. Or else you make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they go a-prostituting after their gods, and do sacrifice to their gods, and one call you, and you eat of his sacrifice. And you take of their daughters to your sons, and their daughters go a-prostituting after their gods, and make your sons go a-prostituting after their gods. You shall not make for yourselves molten gods. You shall keep the feast of unleavened bread. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, as I commanded you, in the time of the month Aviv, for in the month Aviv, you came out from Egypt. All that opens the womb is mine, and every firstling among your cattle, whether ox or sheep, that is male. But the firstling of a male donkey you shall redeem with a lamb, and if you do not redeem him, then you shall break his neck. All the firstborn of your sons you shall redeem. And none shall appear before me empty. 6 days you shall work, but on the 7th day you shall rest, in plowing time and in harvest you shall rest. And you shall observe the feast of weeks, of the first fruits of wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the year's end. 3 times in the year shall all your men children appear before the Lord Jehovah, the God of Israel. For I will cast out the nations before you, and enlarge your borders, neither shall any man desire your land, when you shall go up to appear before Jehovah your God 3 times in the year. You shall not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leaven, neither shall the sacrifice of the feast of the Passover be left till the morning. The first of the first fruits of your land you shall bring to the house of Jehovah your God. You shall not boil a kid in his mother's milk. And Jehovah said to Moses, You write these words, for on the mouth of these words I have made a covenant with you and with Israel. And he was there with Jehovah 40 days and 40 nights, he did neither eat bread, or drink water. And he wrote upon the tablets the words of the covenant, the 10 commandments. And it came to pass, when Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tablets of testimony in Moses' hand, when he came down from the mountain, that Moses did not know that the skin of his face shone while he talked with him. And when Aaron and all the children of Israel saw Moses, look, the skin of his face shone, and they were afraid to come near him. And Moses called to them, and Aaron and all the rulers of the congregation returned to him, and Moses talked with them. And afterwards all the children of Israel came near, and he gave them in commandment all that Jehovah had spoken with him in Mount Sinai. And until Moses had finished speaking with them, he put a veil on his face. But when Moses went in before Jehovah to speak with him, he took the veil off, until he came out. And he came out, and spoke to the children of Israel that which he was commanded. And the children of Israel saw the face of Moses, that the skin of Moses' face shone, and Moses put the veil upon his face again, until he went in to speak with him. And Moses gathered all the congregation of the children of Israel together, and said to them, These are the words which Jehovah has commanded, that you all should do them. 6 days shall work be done, but on the 7th day there shall be to you a holy day, a Sabbath of rest to Jehovah, whoever does work on it shall be put to death. You all shall not kindle a fire throughout your habitations on the Sabbath day. And Moses spoke to all the congregation of the children of Israel, saying, This is the thing which Jehovah commanded, saying, You all shall take from among you an offering to Jehovah, whoever is of a willing heart, let him bring it, an offering of Jehovah, gold and silver and brass, and blue and purple and scarlet, and fine linen, and goat's hair, and ram skins dyed red, and badger's skins, and shittim wood, and oil for the light, and spices for anointing oil, and for the sweet incense, and onyx stones, and stones to be set for the ephod, and for the breastplate. And every wise-hearted among you shall come, and make all that Jehovah has commanded. The tabernacle, its tent, and its covering, its hooks, and its boards, its bars, its pillars, and its bases. The ark, and the poles of it, with the mercy seat, and the veil of the covering. The table, and its poles, and all its vessels, and the showbread. The menorah also for the light, and its furniture, and its lamps, with the oil for the light. And the incense altar, and its poles, and the anointing oil, and the sweet incense, and the hanging for the door at the entering in of the tabernacle. The altar of burnt offering, with its bronze grate, its poles, and all its vessels, the basin and its foot. The hangings of the court, its pillars, and their bases, and the hanging for the door of the court. The pegs of the tabernacle, and the pegs of the court, and their cords. The cloths of service, to do service in the holy place, the holy garments for Aaron the priest, and the garments of his sons, to minister in the priest's office. And all the congregation of the children of Israel departed from the presence of Moses. And they came, every one whose heart stirred him up, and every one whom his spirit made willing, and they brought Jehovah's offering to the work of the tabernacle of the congregation, and for all his service, and for the holy garments. And they came, both men and women, as many as were willing-hearted, and brought bracelets, and earrings, and rings, and tablets, all jewels of gold, and every man that offered an offering of gold to Jehovah. And every man, with whom was found blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine linen, and goat's hair, and red skins of rams, and badgers' skins, brought them. Every one that did offer an offering of silver and brass brought Jehovah's offering, and every man, with whom was found shittim wood for any work of the service, brought it. And all the women that were wise-hearted did spin with their hands, and brought that which they had spun, both of blue, and of purple, and of scarlet, and of fine linen. And all the women whose heart stirred them up in wisdom spun goat's hair. And the rulers brought onyx stones, and stones to be set, for the ephod, and for the breastplate. And spice, and oil for the light, and for the anointing oil, and for the sweet incense. The children of Israel brought a willing offering to Jehovah, every man and woman, whose heart made them willing to bring for all kinds of work, which Jehovah had commanded to be made by the hand of Moses. And Moses said to the children of Israel, See, Jehovah has called by name Bezaleel the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah. And he has filled him with the Spirit of God, in wisdom, in understanding, and in knowledge, and in all kinds of workmanship. And to devise cunning works, to work in gold, and in silver, and in brass. And in the cutting of stones, to set them, and in carving of wood, to make anything of cunning work. And he has put in his heart that he may teach, both he, and Aholiab, the son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan. Them he has filled with wisdom of heart, to work all kinds of work, of the engraver, and of the cunning workman, and of the embroiderer, in blue, and in purple, in scarlet, and in fine linen, and of the weaver, even of them that do any work, and of those that devise cunning work. Then Bezaleel and Aholiab worked, and every wise-hearted man, in whom Jehovah put wisdom and understanding to know how to work all kinds of work for the service of the sanctuary, according to all that Jehovah had commanded. And Moses called Bezaleel and Aholiab, and every wise-hearted man, in whose heart Jehovah had put wisdom, even every one whose heart stirred him up to come to the work to do it. And they received of Moses all the offering, which the children of Israel had brought for the work of the service of the sanctuary, to make it. And they still brought to him free offerings every morning. And all the wise men, that made all the work of the sanctuary, came every man from his work which they made. And they spoke to Moses, saying, The people bring much more than enough for the service of the work, which Jehovah commanded to make. And Moses gave commandment, and they caused it to be proclaimed throughout the camp, saying, Let neither man or woman make any more work for the offering of the sanctuary. So the people were restrained from bringing. For the stuff they had was sufficient for all the work to make it, and was too much. And every wise-hearted man among them that made the work of the tabernacle made 10 curtains of fine twined linen, and blue, and purple, and scarlet, with cherubims of cunning work he made them. The length of one curtain was 28 cubits, and the width of one curtain 4 cubits, the curtains were all of one size. And he coupled the 5 curtains one to another, and the other 5 curtains he coupled one to another. And he made loops of blue on the edge of one curtain from the edge in the place of joining, likewise he made in the outermost side of another curtain, in the place of joining of the second. He made 50 loops in one curtain, and he made 50 loops in the edge of the curtain which was in the place of joining of the second, the loops held one curtain to another. And he made 50 hooks of gold, and coupled the curtains one to another with the hooks, so it became one tabernacle. And he made curtains of goat's hair for the tent over the tabernacle, 11 curtains, he made them. The length of one curtain was 30 cubits, and 4 cubits was the width of one curtain. The 11 curtains were of one size. And he coupled 5 curtains by themselves, and 6 curtains by themselves. And he made 50 loops upon the outermost edge of the curtain in the place of joining, and he made 50 loops upon the edge of the curtain which coupled the second. And he made 50 hooks of brass to couple the tent together, that it might be one. And he made a covering for the tent of ram skins dyed red, and a covering of badgers' skins above that. And he made boards for the tabernacle of shittim wood, standing up. The length of a board was 10 cubits, and the width of a board 1 cubit and a half. One board had 2 hand lengths, equally distant one from another, so did he make for all the boards of the tabernacle. And he made boards for the tabernacle, 20 boards for the south side southward. And 40 bases of silver he made under the 20 boards, 2 bases under one board for his 2 hand lengths, and 2 bases under another board for his 2 hand lengths. And for the other side of the tabernacle, which is towards the north corner, he made 20 boards. And there 40 bases of silver, 2 bases under one board, and 2 bases under another board. And for the sides of the tabernacle westward he made 6 boards. And he made 2 boards for the corners of the tabernacle in the 2 sides. And they were coupled beneath, and coupled together at the head of it, to one ring, so he did to both of them in both the corners. And there were 8 boards, and their bases were 16 bases of silver, under every board 2 bases. And he made bars of shittim wood, 5 for the boards of the one side of the tabernacle. And 5 bars for the boards of the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the tabernacle for the sides westward. And he made the middle bar to shoot through the boards from the one end to the other. And he overlaid the boards with gold, and made their rings of gold to be places for the bars, and overlaid the bars with gold. And he made a veil of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen, he made it with cherubims of cunning work. And he made for it 4 pillars of shittim wood, and overlaid them with gold, their hooks were of gold, and he cast for them 4 bases of silver. And he made a hanging for the tabernacle door of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen, of needlework. And the 5 pillars of it with their hooks, and he overlaid their tops and their rings with gold, but their 5 bases were of brass. And Bezaleel made the ark of shittim wood, 2 cubits and a half was the length of it, and a cubit and a half the width of it, and a cubit and a half the height of it. And he overlaid it with pure gold within and without, and made a crown of gold to it all around. And he cast for it 4 rings of gold, to be set by the 4 corners of it, even 2 rings upon the one side of it, and 2 rings upon the other side of it. And he made poles of shittim wood, and overlaid them with gold. And he put the poles into the rings by the sides of the ark, to bear the ark. And he made the mercy seat of pure gold, 2 cubits and a half was the length of it, and 1 cubit and a half the width of it. And he made 2 cherubims of gold, beaten out of one piece he made them, on the 2 ends of the mercy seat. 1 cherub on the end on this side, and another cherub on the other end on that side, out of the mercy seat he made the cherubims on the 2 ends of it. And the cherubims spread out their wings on high, and covered with their wings over the mercy seat, with their faces one to another, even towards the mercy seat were the faces of the cherubims. And he made the table of shittim wood, 2 cubits was the length of it, and a cubit the width of it, and a cubit and a half the height of it. And he overlaid it with pure gold, and made for it a crown of gold all around. Also he made for it a border of a hand width all around, and made a crown of gold for the border of it all around. And he cast for it 4 rings of gold, and put the rings upon the 4 corners that were in the 4 feet of it. Over against the border were the rings, the places for the poles to bear the table. And he made the poles of shittim wood, and overlaid them with gold, to bear the table. And he made the vessels which were upon the table, its dishes, and its spoons, and its bowls, and its covers to cover these, of pure gold. And he made the menorah of pure gold, of beaten work he made the menorah, its shaft, and its branch, its bowls, its bulbs, and its flowers, were of the same. And 6 branches going out of the sides of it, 3 branches of the menorah out of the one side of it, and 3 branches of the menorah out of the other side of it. 3 bowls made after the fashion of almonds in one branch, a bulb, and a flower, and 3 bowls made like almonds in another branch, a bulb, and a flower, so throughout the 6 branches going out of the menorah. And in the menorah were 4 bowls made like almonds, its bulbs, and its flowers. And a bulb under 2 branches of the same, and a bulb under 2 branches of the same, and a bulb under 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches going out of it. Their bulbs and their branches were of the same, all of it was one beaten work of pure gold. And he made it 7 lamps, and its snuffers, and its snuff dishes, of pure gold. Of a talent of pure gold he made it, and all the vessels of it. And he made the incense altar of shittim wood, the length of it was a cubit, and the width of it a cubit, it was 4 square, and 2 cubits was the height of it, the horns of it were of the same. And he overlaid it with pure gold, both the top of it, and the sides of it all around, and the horns of it, also he made to it a crown of gold all around. And he made 2 rings of gold for it under the crown of it, by the 2 corners of it, upon the 2 sides of it, to be places for the poles to bear these. And he made the poles of shittim wood, and overlaid them with gold. And he made the holy anointing oil, and the pure incense of sweet spices, according to the work of the apothecary. And he made the altar of burnt offering of shittim wood, 5 cubits was the length of it, and 5 cubits the width of it, it was 4 square, and 3 cubits the height of it. And he made the horns of it on the 4 corners of it, the horns of it were of the same, and he overlaid it with brass. And he made all the vessels of the altar, the pots, and the shovels, and the basins, and the flesh hooks, and the fire pans, all the vessels of it he made of brass. And he made for the altar a bronze grate of network under the rim of it beneath to the middle of it. And he cast 4 rings for the 4 ends of the grate of brass, to be places for the poles. And he made the poles of shittim wood, and overlaid them with brass. And he put the poles into the rings on the sides of the altar, to bear these, he made the altar hollow with boards. And he made the basin of brass, and the foot of it of brass, of the mirrors of the women assembling, which assembled at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And he made the court on the south side southward, the hangings of the court, were of fine twined linen, 100 cubits. Their pillars were 20, and their bronze bases 20, the hooks of the pillars and their rings were of silver. And for the north side the hangings were 100 cubits, their pillars were 20, and their bases of brass 20, the hooks of the pillars and their rings of silver. And for the west side were hangings of 50 cubits, their pillars 10, and their bases 10, the hooks of the pillars and their rings of silver. And for the east side eastward 50 cubits. The hangings of the one side of the gate were 15 cubits, their pillars 3, and their bases 3. And for the other side of the court gate, on this hand and that hand, were hangings of 15 cubits, their pillars 3, and their bases 3. All the hangings of the court all around were of fine twined linen. And the bases for the pillars were of brass, the hooks of the pillars and their rings of silver, and the overlaying of their heads of silver, and all the pillars of the court were ringed with silver. And the hanging for the gate of the court was needlework, of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen, and 20 cubits was the length, and the height in the width was 5 cubits, close beside the hangings of the court. And their pillars were 4, and their bases of brass 4, their hooks of silver, and the overlaying of their heads and their rings of silver. And all the pegs of the tabernacle, and of the court all around, were of brass. This is the sum of the tabernacle, even of the tabernacle of testimony, as it was counted, according to the commandment of Moses, for the service of the Levites, by the hand of Ithamar, son to Aaron the priest. And Bezaleel the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, made all that Jehovah commanded Moses. And with him was Aholiab, son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan, an engraver and a cunning workman, and an embroiderer in blue, and in purple, and in scarlet, and fine linen. All the gold that was occupied for the work in all the work of the holy place, even the gold of the offering, was 29 talents, and 730 shekels, after the shekel of the sanctuary. And the silver of them that were numbered of the congregation was 100 talents, and 1,775 shekels, after the shekel of the sanctuary. A bekah for every man, that is, half a shekel, after the shekel of the sanctuary, for every one that went to be numbered, from 20 years old and upwards, for 603,550 men. And of the 100 talents of silver were cast the bases of the sanctuary, and the bases of the veil, 100 bases of the 100 talents, a talent for a socket. And of the 1,775 shekels he made hooks for the pillars, and overlaid their heads, and ringed them. And the brass of the offering was 70 talents, and 2,400 shekels. And he made the bases to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and the bronze altar, and the bronze grate for it, and all the vessels of the altar. And the bases of the court all around, and the bases of the court gate, and all the pegs of the tabernacle, and all the pegs of the court all around. And of the blue, and purple, and scarlet, they made cloths of service, to do service in the holy place, and made the holy garments for Aaron, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he made the ephod of gold, blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen. And they did beat the gold into thin plates, and cut it into wires, to work it in the blue, and in the purple, and in the scarlet, and in the fine linen, with cunning work. They made shoulder pieces for it, to couple it together, by the two edges was it coupled together. And the embroidered sash of his ephod, that was upon it, was of the same, according to the work of it, of gold, blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And they made onyx stones enclosed in platings of gold, carved, as signets are carved, with the names of the children of Israel. And he put them on the shoulders of the ephod, that they should be stones for a memorial to the children of Israel, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he made the breastplate of cunning work, like the work of the ephod, of gold, blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen. It was foursquare. They made the breastplate double, a span was the length of it, and a span the width of it, being doubled. And they set in it 4 rows of stones. The first row was a sardius, a topaz, and a carbuncle, this was the first row. And the second row, an emerald, a sapphire, and a diamond. And the third row, a ligure, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row, a beryl, an onyx, and a jasper, they were enclosed in platings of gold in their enclosings. And the stones were according to the names of the children of Israel, 12, according to their names, like the engravings of a signet, every one with his name, according to the 12 tribes. And they made upon the breastplate chains at the ends, of wreathen work of pure gold. And they made 2 platings of gold, and 2 gold rings, and put the 2 rings in the 2 ends of the breastplate. And they put the 2 wreathen chains of gold in the 2 rings on the ends of the breastplate. And the 2 ends of the 2 wreathen chains they fastened in the 2 platings, and put them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod, before it. And they made 2 rings of gold, and put them on the 2 ends of the breastplate, upon the border of it, which was on the side of the ephod inwards. And they made 2 other golden rings, and put them on the 2 sides of the ephod underneath, towards the forepart of it, over against the other place of joining of it, above the embroidered sash of the ephod. And they did bind the breastplate by its rings to the rings of the ephod with a lace of blue, that it might be above the embroidered sash of the ephod, and that the breastplate might not be loosed from the ephod, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he made the robe of the ephod of woven work, all of blue. And there was a hole in the middle of the robe, as the hole of a corslet, with a band all around the hole, that it should not tear. And they made upon the hems of the robe pomegranates of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and twined linen. And they made bells of pure gold, and put the bells between the pomegranates upon the hem of the robe, all around between the pomegranates. A bell and a pomegranate, a bell and a pomegranate, all around the hem of the robe to minister in, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And they made coats of fine linen of woven work for Aaron, and for his sons. And a turban of fine linen, and beautiful caps of fine linen, and linen underwear of fine twined linen. And a sash of fine twined linen, and blue, and purple, and scarlet, of needlework, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And they made the plate of the holy crown of pure gold, and wrote upon it a writing, like to the engravings of a signet, Holiness to Jehovah. And they tied to it a lace of blue, to fasten it on high upon the turban, as Jehovah commanded Moses. So was all the work of the tabernacle of the tent of the congregation finished, and the children of Israel did according to all that Jehovah commanded Moses, so they did. And they brought the tabernacle to Moses, the tent, and all its furniture, its hooks, its boards, its bars, and its pillars, and its bases. And the covering of ram skins dyed red, and the covering of badgers' skins, and the veil of the covering. The ark of the testimony, and the poles of it, and the mercy seat. The table, and all the vessels of it, and the showbread. The pure menorah, with the lamps of it, even with the lamps to be set in order, and all the vessels of it, and the oil for light. And the golden altar, and the anointing oil, and the sweet incense, and the hanging for the tabernacle door. The bronze altar, and its grate of brass, its poles, and all its vessels, the basin and its foot. The hangings of the court, its pillars, and its bases, and the hanging for the court gate, its cords, and its pins, and all the vessels of the service of the tabernacle, for the tent of the congregation. The cloths of service to do service in the holy place, and the holy garments for Aaron the priest, and his sons' garments, to minister in the priest's office. According to all that Jehovah commanded Moses, so the children of Israel made all the work. And Moses did look upon all the work, and look, they had done it, as Jehovah had commanded, even so had they done it, and Moses blessed them. And Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, On the 1st day of the 1st month shall you set up the tabernacle of the tent of the congregation. And you shall put in it the ark of the testimony, and cover the ark with the veil. And you shall bring in the table, and set in order the things that are to be set in order upon it, and you shall bring in the menorah, and light the lamps of it. And you shall set the altar of gold for the incense before the ark of the testimony, and put the hanging of the door to the tabernacle. And you shall set the altar of the burnt offering before the door of the tabernacle of the tent of the congregation. And you shall set the basin between the tent of the congregation and the altar, and shall put water in it. And you shall set up the court all around, and hang up the hanging at the court gate. And you shall take the anointing oil, and anoint the tabernacle, and all that is in it, and shall sanctify it, and all the vessels of it, and it shall be holy. And you shall anoint the altar of the burnt offering, and all its vessels, and sanctify the altar, and it shall be an altar most holy. And you shall anoint the basin and its foot, and sanctify it. And you shall bring Aaron and his sons to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and wash them with water. And you shall put upon Aaron the holy garments, and anoint him, and sanctify him, that he may minister to me in the priest's office. And you shall bring his sons, and clothe them with coats. And you shall anoint them, as you did anoint their father, that they may minister to me in the priest's office, for their anointing shall surely be an everlasting priesthood throughout their generations. So Moses did, according to all that Jehovah commanded him, so he did. And it came to pass in the 1st month in the 2nd year, on the 1st day of the month, that the tabernacle was raised up. And Moses raised up the tabernacle, and fastened its bases, and set up the boards of it, and put in the bars of it, and raised up its pillars. And he spread out the tent over the tabernacle, and put the covering of the tent above upon it, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he took and put the testimony into the ark, and set the poles on the ark, and put the mercy seat above upon the ark. And he brought the ark into the tabernacle, and set up the veil of the covering, and covered the ark of the testimony, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he put the table in the tent of the congregation, upon the side of the tabernacle northward, outside the veil. And he set the bread in order upon it before Jehovah, as Jehovah had commanded Moses. And he put the menorah in the tent of the congregation, over against the table, on the side of the tabernacle southward. And he set up the lamps before Jehovah, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he put the golden altar in the tent of the congregation before the veil. And he burnt sweet incense on it, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he set up the hanging at the door of the tabernacle. And he put the altar of burnt offering by the door of the tabernacle of the tent of the congregation, and offered upon it the burnt offering and the meal offering, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he set the basin between the tent of the congregation and the altar, and put water there, for washing. And Moses and Aaron and his sons washed their hands and their feet there. When they went into the tent of the congregation, and when they came near to the altar, they washed, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he raised up the court all around the tabernacle and the altar, and set up the hanging of the court gate. So Moses finished the work. Then a cloud covered the tent of the congregation, and the glory of Jehovah filled the tabernacle. And Moses was not able to enter into the tent of the congregation, because the cloud dwelt on it, and the glory of Jehovah filled the tabernacle. And when the cloud was taken up from over the tabernacle, the children of Israel went onwards in all their journeys. But if the cloud was not taken up, then they did not journey till the day that it was taken up. For the cloud of Jehovah was upon the tabernacle by day, and fire was on it by night, in the sight of all the house of Israel, throughout all their journeys.